Welcome to Dunedin, Florida. It's Grapefruit League Baseball. The 2017 Toronto Blue Jays get set to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Expectations are high around this ball club. It is a great afternoon here in Florida. Hello, everybody. I'm Buck Martinez along with Joe Siddle. And Joe, last couple of years have been terrific for the Blue Jays, but they're not settling. There's a lot of anticipation about this upcoming season.
Well, this Blue Jays club has their eye on the big prize after back-to-back American League Championship Series appearances. There's only one thing to do. That's to get to the World Series and win it.
Well, today, the Blue Jays are going to put on display a real surprise last year. Joe Biagini gets to start today. And Joe, just exactly what does it mean to Biagini to start this opening game here in Dunedin?
Well, Biagini had an outstanding rookie season, the Rule 5 selection by the Blue Jays last year in the Blue Jays bullpen. Blue Jays are going to stretch him out this spring just in case, in the event that there is an injury or any other circumstance to this rotation. The starting five are set for the Blue Jays, but if somebody were to go down, Biagini, if he's stretched out this spring, could step right into a prominent rotation role.
Well, Biagini is scheduled to go 2 innings today, and obviously we're going to have several pitchers follow him. And for more on the pitchers we might see today, let's check in with Hazel May.
Well, Buck, following Biagini, we're going to get our first look at Matt Latos, a 6'6", 245-pound right-hander. Now, with Gibbons' rotation seemingly set, Latos will be competing for a spot in the opening day bullpen, more likely, though, as a starter or reliever in Buffalo, barring injuries. Also, expect to see 21-year-old Connor Green. Remember, he turned heads last spring. Now, Green worked out with Aaron Sanchez this past offseason, and much like Sanchez, Green showed up at camp with added bulk to that frame. The training staff telling me he's packed on 25 pounds of muscle. And Buck, as you know, the Blue Jays have Green on the exact same career path as Sanchez. So it'll be fun to watch Green this spring. Back to you.
Hazel, we'll be anxious to see all the pitchers who are following him. The expectations, as we mentioned, very high. Kevin Pillar is healthy and happy. Russell Martin feels great. And it's great to see Jose Bautista back with the Blue Jays. And how about a new face? Kendrys Morales will be the DH for the Blue Jays. That's all coming up next.
This program Brought to you by new Scott's Lawn Response 911, a 3-in-1 solution that rescues your lawn.
Welcome to Dunedin on a glorious day here in Florida. It's 23 degrees in Dunedin and a lot of anticipation about the upcoming season. This is the first home game of the Grapefruit League action for the Blue Jays. They were in Orlando yesterday and lost to the Atlanta Braves, but let's take a look at their opponents today. Here's the Philadelphia Phillies lineup. Phillies were 20 games under 500 a year ago. Perkins, Crawford, Nava, top of the order. Camden Rupp DHing today. Andres Blanco, the veteran, at second base. Dylan Cousins was the MVP in the Eastern League last year. He had 40 home runs. Ryan Hannigan, Brock Stassi, and Taylor Featherston round out the lineup. And they are ready to take on the starting pitcher for the Blue Jays. Starting pitchers brought to you by Scott's at Turf Builder. Green Max Lawn Food. Get a deep green lawn in just 3 days.
The Blue Jays send 26-year-old right-hander Joe Biagini to the mound today for their first spring home game. An excellent rookie season last year out of the Blue Jays bullpen. The Blue Jays look to stretch him out this spring in the event there's an issue with their starting rotation. Obviously, the starting five are set for John Gibbons and Pete Walker, but if something should happen, Joe Biagini could be the one called upon to step into that rotation. If not, still a very key relief role for him is in store.
Defensively, behind Joe Biagini, this will be a real point of concern this spring, all spring long. It's left field. Melvin Upton is out there today. Of course, the Gold Glove candidate Kevin Pillar is in center, and Jose Bautista, boy, he looks great. He's in great shape, anxious for a bounce-back season after an injury-plagued campaign in 2016. Jake Elmore is at third. Josh Donaldson dealing with a calf injury. Richard Urania on his birthday gets the start at shortstop. Goins and Smoak on the right side of the infield. And the battery for today's game, Joe Biagini gets the start, and he'll be throwing to the veteran Russell Martin, who's in great shape. He had surgery in the offseason. He feels 100%.
Kevin Pillar gets his first spring start today in center field, one of the best in the game, and he looks to continue to prove upon his outfield defense. Takes a lot of pride in what he does out there. Had a chance to speak with him this morning. Most important thing for him is during batting practice and getting reads off the bat.
Biagini has completed his warm-ups, and Kevin Pillar is all about being a complete player. He says, I don't want to be a one-dimensional defensive player. I want to be an all-around very good player, and he's looking for a big offensive season. So the Phillies will have Cameron Perkins leading things off. Perkins a year ago in AAA at .292 with 8 homers and 47 RBIs. Biagini, his first appearance of the spring. Here's the first pitch of the ball game. It is outside, and we are underway. Biagini is 26 years old. Of course, he has been a starter throughout his minor league career. Last year, he made 60 appearances all out of the bullpen for the Blue Jays. There's a strike. It's 1-1.
Joe is going to average over 94 miles per hour with that fastball, curveball, cutter, and changeup. And the one thing he is working on this spring is that changeup. It's his 4th pitch, but he needs that to be a weapon for him, especially against left-handed hitters.
I spoke to Joe this morning. He said he's going to throw fastballs and changeups to see just how many changeups he can get into the mix. There's a changeup. It's a jam shot to short. Urania makes a terrific play, but pulls Smoak off the bag. First base umpire Tom Halyard made the call as Urania made a nice play on that little slow roller to shortstop.
Oftentimes when you get a hard-throwing pitcher like Biagini, an off-speed pitch can actually jam a hitter, and that's exactly what it did to Perkins right here. Nice job by the shortstop. He did everything right getting to the baseball. The off-balance throw, though, just off the mark. Nice job by Justin Smoak getting off the base to keep that ball from going into the seats.
J.P. Crawford will bat second for Philadelphia. He's a shortstop, young prospect in the Phillies organization, yet to play in the major leagues. Biagini working out of the stretch. Misses with the first pitch.
Joe will throw a 2- and 4-seam fastball. This is a situation, especially with a left-hander at the plate now. He'll be looking for a ground ball. He's very good at it, over 50% last season. Ideal time for a potential double play ball off the bat of Crawford right here.
Foul back. It's a ball and a strike. Biagini, he understands the situation, and he's going to take advantage of this opportunity. He said, by starting, I've got a little bit more leeway to mix all my pitches in, and I think he really welcomed the opportunity to get occasional starts down here in the spring.
Well, Joe's got his starters repertoire. He's got 4 pitches, and anytime you've got 4 pretty decent pitches, that's the weapon to get through the lineup a few times.
There's a changeup that missed downstairs.
It's an interesting situation, though, because John Gibbons is set with his rotation, so unless anything happens there, there's no room. And not too many teams can say that. Very fortunate. Pete Walker has done such a good job with this rotation, one of the best in baseball.
That's probably the biggest strength of this team right now, the depth of their starting staff. Nobody out. Fly ball into center. Easy play for Pilar. He makes the catch. Well, Joe Biagini is not going anywhere. He is going to stay here, and obviously he's going to work out of the bullpen. If they want to make him a starter, they can do that next year. But this is a very strong starting staff. When you look at the depth, few teams can boast this type of depth in a 5-man rotation.
Well, and what a nice piece added by the Blue Jays last year, Francisco Liriano, that 5th starter right there. And the reason they executed that trade for Drew Hutchison is because he had an extra year on that contract. So he's back again in 2017, a very solid rotation 1 through 5. Biagini's great insurance in case something happens. If not, he was such an integral part of that bullpen last year. I expect to see him do the same this year.
Everybody is kind of negative about the fact the Blue Jays, well, they can't repeat what they did last year from the starting rotation. Why not?
Why not is right, and especially when you've got a guy like Aaron Sanchez. Here's a young kid who led the ERA, led the American League in ERA last year, and he looks just as good or better this spring.
Well, he's gained experience, obviously. He now understands that he can be very effective in the American League, and you've got Marcus Stroman, who's just really ready to break out. Marco Estrada, he's a free agent. He's healthy, anxious to really put together another great season. And Jay Happ won 20 games. Why can't they repeat the same thing? 1-0 to Daniel Nava. Biagini steps off, and we have seen him do that more often than not. He is a very cool customer on the mound. When the runner at first broke Cameron Perkins, Biagini just patiently steps off the rubber.
Well, no panic whatsoever from Joe Biagini, and you're right, Buck. We saw that a couple of times last year where runners will try to time that pause when he comes to a set and try to time it, and they try to get a good jump, but Joe didn't panic. And oftentimes as a catcher, the first thing you're going to do is yell, step off, and he'll hear it from all of his infielders. Some pitchers will panic right there and flinch and balk. Not Joe. Very cool customer.
There is absolutely no panic in Joe Biagini's makeup.
There sure isn't. We joke about him a lot, but it works in his favor oftentimes as well.
Daniel Nava swings at the pitch and lines it into right. That'll get down in front of Bautista for a 2-out single for the veteran Daniel Nava. Nava, a non-roster invitee here, trying to make this Phillies ball club. Of course, we have seen him for years with the Boston Red Sox, up and down. Last year, Nava got into 54 games with Boston. A 2-out single. So Cameron Rupp, who was the catcher for the Phillies a year ago, he is DHing here this afternoon. He figures to be their everyday catcher this season. Up 16 homers and 54 RBIs a year ago. He goes after that first pitch changeup, Joe.
And there it is. He will work it against right-handed batters as well. And the key here is he's really trying to develop this pitch. If he's in the rotation at the end of spring, so be it. But if not, it's still a weapon he can use out of the bullpen. Not as good of success against left-handers last year. He wants to be better.
Oh, and 2. The Blue Jays see a lot of the Phillies, of course. They're only about 6 miles apart. Their stadiums and spring training facilities, so they play each other quite a bit during the spring. Ball in dirt, gets away from Martin, and Nava's going to take second on the wild pitch. That was another changeup. That one bounced in front of Russell.
This will be a different look for Russell Martin behind the plate too, and I'm sure he's going to want to have that one back. As a catcher, when you call a changeup, you are anticipating and expecting the ball to be in the dirt. Russ was able to get down there maybe a little bit late and didn't quite get into his perfect blocking position, and that's when that ball can deflect off you to the side.
Of course, Russell had some minor surgery to clean up a knee problem last year that really bothered him during the second half of the season. And he is really optimistic about what's ahead for 2017. Pretty good pitch. Biagini thought he had thrown a strike. It's now 2-2 to the Phillies DH, Cameron Rupp.
Talked to Russ about that knee, and he said it feels great. But the one thing, when I saw Russ for the first time this spring, he looks like a lean, mean fighting machine. And one thing he said is that he really took to the nutritional aspect of his game now, and especially not getting any younger. He knows that's very important. He wants to feel strong all the way to the end.
Well, there's a good pitch for a swing and a foul tip. Russell couldn't hang on to it, but he got a very weak swing from the hitter Cameron Rupp on that changeup.
Rupp thought he was out. I think he was heading back to the dugout, but Russ just could not quite squeeze it, and sometimes that'll happen with foul tips. There's not a whole lot of talent involved there. You're either lucky to hang on or not. That one just popped out of Russ's mitt.
There's strike three. Biagini gets Rupp with a fastball on the outside. Going a good inning for Joe Biagini. He gives up a couple of hits and nothing more. When we come back, top of the order for the Blue Jays. Kevin Pillar will lead things off. Well, let's take a look at the Blue Jays lineup. Kevin Pillar gets the nod to lead off here this afternoon. He's coming back from a thumb injury at surgery in the offseason. And Russell Martin, too. Jose Bautista, boy, it's good to see him back with this ball club. New face in the lineup is the switch-hitting DH, Kendrys Morales, coming off a 30-home-run season a year ago. Justin Smoak is going to get all the opportunities to take over the job every day at first base this spring. Melvin Upton Jr. in left field. He's in competition for the everyday spot out there. Goins is the utility guy. Today he gets to start at second. Devin Travis still coming back from his knee surgery. Jake Elmore had a good game yesterday with 3 hits over against the Braves.
And the Phillies sent 29-year-old right-hander Jeremy Hellickson to the mound. He will anchor the Phillies rotation this season, a rotation considered to be a strength for this club. Went 12-10 last year with a 3.71 ERA, 189 innings, so a solid workload for Hellickson, making 32 starts for Pete Maccannon's club.
Well, Jeremy Hellickson is the Phillies version of Marco Estrada. He will throw that changeup almost 27% of the time, and Blue Jays know that. They saw him a lot when he was with Tampa Bay. Here's his first pitch. It's downstairs to Kevin Pillar. We mentioned Pillar had surgery. He injured his thumb, Joe, in August, the 8th of August. He injured that thumb. He actually tore the ligaments in his thumb and didn't have surgery till the off season. What do you think Pilar needs to accomplish this spring? He knows he's going to play center field every day.
Well, this is a different Kevin Pilar standing at the plate right now. And what I mean by that is we saw that leg kick last year. Not anymore. He's gotten much quieter at the plate now. It's a shorter approach to the baseball. Watch his front side here. No big leg kick, just a small little tap and short to the baseball.
There's that changeup for a strike. Kevin Pilar, of course, a 32nd round pick in 2011 by the Blue Jays, and he has beaten the odds, no question about that. He takes absolutely nothing for granted. He's out to prove himself every single day and make sure he tries to improve on every aspect of his game. He's a real asset for this ball club.
Well, we talked about his defense, one of the best in the game in center field, but he takes a lot of pride in it and wants to be the best in the game. And as he said, batting practice is a great time to get reads off the bat. He feels that outfielders always need to work left, work right, work in, and work back. He talked about coming in on the baseball, and I think he's one of the best in the game at that. So he's allowed to play a little bit deeper because he's so good. But at the same time, outfielders will also have to take into account the pitcher on the mound. You've got a sinker baller on the mound like Sanchez or Stroman, you're going to get a lot of shorter balls.
Little chopper back to the mound. Hellickson, a very good fielder, former Gold Glove winner, makes an easy play, one down.
Oftentimes you get a guy on the mound like a Marco Estrada or a Jay Happ, R.A. Dickey for sure, more of a fly ball pitcher, then he'll back up because there's less likelihood of those balls being hit in the shallow parts of the field. So you have to adjust to your pitcher as well, and he's just really coming into his own now overall as a major league player.
Well, here is the veteran catcher, Russell Martin. Boy, he looks great, as you mentioned. You talk about the nutrition. We'll get into that more as we go on during the spring, but the Blue Jays have really revamped their approach to conditioning with their high performance program and to nutrition. Russell believes like it's going to help him stay healthy and strong throughout the course of the season.
Well, he almost said it's almost when people talk about diets, it's not what you do for a few weeks here or there. It's a lifestyle change. And he said once he starts eating better, you don't crave those munchies that he's used to trying to force down at night.
Oh, but those munchies are good, Joe.
You don't have to catch in the big leagues anymore.
Well, Russell, of course, has had a phenomenal career. This will be his third season with the Blue Jays. There's a breaking ball inside corner for a strike. Russell hit .231 a year ago, hit 20 home runs. First time in his career he's had 20 home run seasons in back-to-back seasons. First year in Toronto, he had a 20 homer season. But he ran out of gas, Joe, at the end of the season.
He was really banged up. Did have that knee cleaned up in the offseason, and he had that slip in the sauna, which probably magnified things. But when you're playing deep into October like that, you want to be at your best, and that's what Russ is trying to do with this nutritional perspective now and his outlook on this new season.
Changeup bounced in the dirt. Russell told me that he didn't do a very good job, and you alluded to it, as far as taking care of himself. He said, my best season as a professional was 2014 when he played with the Pirates. He said, I worked out well, took great care of myself, got my rest, and I ate properly, and I had my best season ever. Well, there's a good start to the 2017 season. How about a base hit for Russell Martin with one out?
It was the end of May last year in New York where Russ changed the size of his bat. He went from a 34-inch bat down to a 33.5-inch, and he also dropped a half an ounce from 32 to 31.5. He just felt like he had better control of the barrel, so he's done that again. He's staying with that bat. Caught him around batting practice the other day. He also had a 31.5 ounce, so he teeters back and forth, but sometimes hitters will tell you during batting practice they may use a little heavier bat just to simulate a game type situation because the pitching's not as fast, of course, in BP from a coach.
Well, this is a great sign for Blue Jay fans. Jose Bautista batting third in their lineup here in spring training, and that was an unknown at the end of last year, of course. Bautista, a free agent, re-signed with the Blue Jays, and he is happy to be back. Jose's now 36 years old, but boy, has he had a run with the Blue Jays. This is his 10th season with the Blue Jays, and he has hit 265 home runs while in the Blue Jays uniform. A year ago, 22 homers in an injury-plagued season, and Joe, his injuries were certainly not age-related. They were accidents. Remember in Philadelphia in June, he kicked the fence out in right, hurt his toe.
And I know sometimes on that topic, people will say, yeah, but when you get older, you're prone to those things. No, no, no. Those were complete freak accidents, and he hopes to stay healthy this year and be back into the old Jose Bautista form.
Well, Jose's got a presence. I don't care what kind of season he's having. Of course, he's led the American League in RBIs twice. He was a home run champ in back-to-back seasons in 2010 and 2011. He's a 6-time All-Star and a 3-time Silver Slugger, and there's an extra base hit down the left field line. Martin's around second. He's headed for third, and Bautista will coast into second with a stand-up one-out double. Oh, it's good to be back at the ballpark, Joe.
Well, it looks like Jose got out in front of this breaking ball from Hellickson, got the barrel to the ball. He is a pull hitter. He is going up with a plan to pull the baseball, but he can cover an awful lot of pitches. See this hanger from Hellickson stays on the inner half of the plate, and that is major danger zone when you're facing Bautista. Those are the ones as a pitcher you're lucky that they stay in the ballpark.
Well, Bautista, the .364 career hitter against Jeremy Hellickson with 3 home runs, so he has seen Hellickson a lot in the past and has liked what he has seen. Well, here's the new DH for the Blue Jays, the veteran Kendrys Morales. Morales in his first game with the Jays, runners at second and third. Morales can really hit. He's not had any success against Hellickson, just 0 for 7. But he's a switch hitter with big-time pop. 30 home runs in a big, spacious ballpark in Kansas City.
Well, you got to believe that moving to Toronto, it's almost like when Josh Donaldson came to Toronto from Oakland. It's a very big ballpark. In Oakland, Josh hit 29 homers, almost drove in 100, and you had to expect that to happen in Toronto, and the numbers increased. See what they do against Kendrys Morales. Big shift on to the right side on the infield, but even the center fielder slides over into the right center gap. Oftentimes you'll see an outfielder, the center fielder, stay home or stay over because the ball's in the air, go that way, but they're playing him strictly to pull all the way around.
Well, you and I have watched him a lot early on in spring training, and the one thing that stands out to me is how he works to the opposite field, whether he's hitting left-handed or right-handed.
Yeah, oftentimes hitters, we see it in batting practice today, and Brooke Jacoby preaches this a lot, that first round is going the other way. And especially when you're practicing going the other way, you're manipulating your swing, you're keeping the hands in, and that's what hitters need to do more in this game with all of the shifts that we're starting to see more and more each year.
3-0 pitch. There's a strike. It's now 3-1. Morales, now 33 years old. He has played 10 years in the major leagues. Got his start with the Angels. Made his major league debut in 2006 as a 23-year-old. His best season came in Anaheim with the Angels in 2009 when he had 34 home runs. That's that cutter inside. He swings over the top of it. It's a full count.
Well, you get ahead in the count like Morales was right there. He's probably looking middle in, but Hellickson threw an excellent cutter. And that looks like a fastball that's on the inner half as it's approaching the plate, and then it dives in. That ball is well in off the plate. Morales still chases it.
Little squibber off the end of the bat. That's going to drive home a run. Bautista's at third. Russell Martin comes in to score the first run of the game. Kendrys Morales hit that changeup right off the end of the bat. It stayed fair, and Taylor Featherstone could only knock it down. He had no play. 3 straight hits with 1 out.
Going to throw the ball out of play there for Kendrys' first hit as a Blue Jay in spring training. Probably not what Brooke Jacoby was expecting to see come off the bat of Morales, but it will work. And that's one of the downsides with the shift, of course. If you cue something, you cannot control that. That is an absolute freak right there, but the Blue Jays will take it.
So Morales has the first Blue Jays RBI of the season for himself, and let's take a look now at Justin Smoak, the first baseman. He too a switch hitter like Morales. Breaking ball for a strike. Smokey's trying to bounce back after a tough season. He had just .217 a year ago, but he still showed signs of power with 14 homers. What would you like to see from Smoak this season here in the spring?
Well, I talked to him this morning, and he gave me the perfect answer of what I was looking for. I asked him, what is the plan this spring? Anything particularly working on? He said, get back to basics and try not to do too much. And what happens when you start struggling the way he did last year? It's a lot between the ears. You start thinking and then outthinking yourself. And we talked about it before the game, but I think he started getting off the fastball too much, worrying about all the other pitches.
Smoak has had some big home run seasons. In his first year with the Blue Jays, he hit 18 in a part-time role. Of course, with the departure of Edwin Encarnacion, they're going to have somebody play at first base. Morales is penciled in that DH spot for the majority of the at-bats. Smoak will compete with Steve Pearce, who also signed a free agent contract with the Blue Jays. Pearce, a right-handed hitter with some power.
Well, you can certainly see a very effective platoon over at first base with Smoak and Pearce. Justin trying to be a little more solid in the batter's box, 50-50 weight distribution, not to be jumping out too much.
Ground ball off the glove of the first baseman. Bautista will come in to score. Morales stops at second as Justin Smoak has a bad hot base hit off the first baseman's glove. Brock Stassi couldn't make a play on it. So the Blue Jays are up 2-0.
Well, it looks like Justin just came around that baseball. That's one of those exact things he does not want to do. Coming around that pitch from Hellickson, he's trying to stay through the baseball better. And when you have more of a 50-50 weight distribution, it allows you to stay through the baseball a little bit more. He felt that he got swaying a little bit last year. And when you do that, you jump out front and you come around the baseball. That's what he did right there, but that's something that he'll continue to work on throughout this spring.
Bob McClure, the veteran pitching coach, out to talk to Jeremy Hellickson in a situation like this, just to give him a little bit of a breather. 4 straight hits for the Blue Jays after Kevin Pillar tapped out to the mound to start the ball game. Martin singled, Bautista doubled down the left field line. Kendrys Morales had a squib base hit up the third base line, and then Justin Smoak had a bouncing ball off the first baseman's glove. Actually, it's now been scored an error on the first baseman. Melvin Upton Jr. He's the batter, playing in left field today. Upton and Jeremy Hellickson, the Phillies starters, were teammates with the Tampa Bay Rays. They both originally signed with Tampa Bay, and Upton was a prominent figure in 2008 when the Rays played the Phillies in the World Series. Oh, and 2 quickly to Upton. Melvin, for the year, hit .238 with 20 home runs and 61 driven in. There's a fly ball to right. Dylan Cousins, a right fielder, has it. Here's the throw as Morales tags and moves over to third on the fly ball to right. So now there are 2 outs with runners at the corners. The Blue Jays have taken an early lead, 2-0 here.
A nice piece of base running there by Kendrys Morales, not known for his speed by any means on the base pass, but if you can advance the 90 feet, go ahead and do it. Even with 2 down, there's many ways you can score from third base, more so than at second. So he takes that 90 feet, and we'll see now if Ryan Goins cannot add on to this early Blue Jays lead.
Goins playing at second base. Devin Travis still not ready to play. He's doing everything but running the bases, basically. He's taking his ground balls. He's fielding. He had knee surgery in the offseason. We're still in the month of February, so there's no time to rush Devin Travis. 2 outs for Ryan Goins. Breaking ball in there for a strike.
Similar situations for Devin Travis and for Steve Pearce. We've talked about this spring. As players, you want to just go out and get into the games and get it rolling, but both of them have said the training staff and the strength staff here are really holding back a little bit. They're not going to rush things, and that's a very good idea.
Line drive off the glove of the first baseman, but Stassi has time to recover, steps on the bag. That'll end the inning, but the Blue Jays take the first inning lead. Couple of runs on 3 hits and an error. 1 inning in the books in Florida.
Opening week presented by Honda. The Blue Jays and the Brewers, April 11th and 12th. Honda home opener is sold out, but the Jays do travel to Baltimore to take on the Orioles, April 13th to the 16th. For tickets, visit BlueJays.com. Buck.
Thank you, Hazel. It'll be here before you know it. Obviously, a great time to think about getting your tickets for the summer, and it's going to be another great summer. The Blue Jays, of course, had a great season, drawing fans to Rogers Center a year ago. Blue Jays led the American League in attendance, 3,392,000. They average over 41,000 a ball game, and it promises to be the same type of season this year. So log on, get your tickets, and make your plans to come out to Rogers Center and see the 2017 Toronto Blue Jays. Top of the second inning, Joe Biagini in his second inning of work. He'll work to Andres Blanco, the second baseman. Joe, the thing that I think I saw last year, and I'm sure you saw the same thing, was the way that Joe Biagini worked and how consistent he was with his work and making sure he was prepared for every single opportunity he got.
For such a young player, just getting to the major leagues in his rookie season, I think what you're referring to is a lot of the extra work we saw. Oftentimes they play catch in the afternoon there at 3 o'clock. Later on, you'll see him in the bullpen all by himself. He might be doing a little drill, but constantly working on repeating those pitching mechanics. A lot of little things. It was a big adjustment for him at the major league level last year for the first time.
He had success early in the season, and oftentimes you'll see players say, well, you know, I got this thing figured out, but not Joe Biagini. He was out there every single day, and oftentimes, like you say, by himself.
Yeah, and I remember talking to him, it was probably before midseason, even asking him what the biggest challenge has been, and he said, pitching on back-to-back days, believe it or not. People don't think about that, but that's something that he was not accustomed to. So it was very difficult, but he was able to do it. When you do that, you're going to feel differently. Your body's going to feel differently when you're not used to it. And he said the first couple of times that he went back-to-back, he was just fatigued the next day, and he had to overcome that. But the communication lines between Joe and pitching coach Pete Walker and John Gibbons, I think that's critical here. And pitchers have to be honest with themselves and let the coaches know when they need perhaps a day off.
Ball and 2 strikes to Andres Blanco, and he swings at a changeup. So far, the returns have been very positive with Biagini in that changeup here this afternoon.
Well, it's a pitch he wants to work on, and he especially wants to have that as a weapon against left-handed batters. and a very good one. See the grip too when he comes up out of his glove. Got that circle change grip a lot of pitchers will use, and good action down and away from the left-handed hitter.
Make it hard for them to send you down.
This is Dylan Cousins, the young right fielder. He's just 22 years old. Goes after the first pitch. Urania backhands, throws across his body. Another bad throw from Urania. He was shaded up the middle. He had played against Cousins last year. They both were in the Eastern League for a while, so he expected him to pull the ball, but that wasn't the case.
And both times today, the throws off the mark from the shortstop, Richard Urania, coming in this time to his right. But when you're charging that way and you have to throw against the grain out across your body, you've got to be very careful that your body doesn't go first. And that's what happens, because when the arm trails, that's when that ball's going to be elevated. We've seen him twice do that today.
The first play he had in the first inning was ruled an infield hit. Ryan Hannigan, the veteran catcher, batting in the 7th spot. The runner is going. Russell Martin made a good throw, but not in time as Blanco picks up the stolen base. Check that. That's Cousins. Blanco struck out. Dylan Cousins, a right fielder, got a little speed as well.
Well, Joe Biagini, we saw this last year too. He can be fairly slow and deliberate when he comes set with his delivery. We saw it in the first inning when Cameron Perkins got caught, tried to cheat a little bit, but he got such a good jump. As a catcher, you can only do what you can do back there. Russ did an excellent job getting rid of the baseball and throwing it on the mark, but just not in time.
The Blue Jays had some problems throwing out base runners. They had the fewest caught stealings in the American League. Just 20 base runners caught all season long. 2 balls and no strikes to Ryan Hannigan, the veteran catcher. Hannigan trying to win a spot on this Phillies roster as the backup catcher. Hannigan, now 36 years old, spent his last couple of seasons in Boston with the Red Sox after a year in Tampa Bay in 2014. You know, you mentioned Joe Biagini and the adjustment of pitching back-to-back games. It's something he hadn't done before. He'd been a starter his entire career.
And that's why it was such a big adjustment. He's a big guy. He likes to use his leverage, but we'll notice how he likes to pitch from the third base side of the rubber, and it's just a personal preference for him. Marco Estrada, on the other hand, works the first base side. The guys that work in the third base side of the rubber, they like to create that angle. So now when he goes away to these right-handed batters, it's almost a real crossfire, tough for the right-handed batters to pick up because the ball is coming from almost behind them.
And this is that pitch upstairs. It's 3-1 now to Hannigan.
Marco Estrada tells me the reason why he works from the first base side, which is the opposite side, is because he wants to really hammer home that glove side of the plate and be able to execute the fastball away to those right-handed batters. When you can own the outside corner as a pitcher, you are in very good shape.
1 out, runner at second base. Blue Jays lead it 2-0. Top of the second inning here in Dunedin. Hannigan late on that fastball. Biagini did a great job of keeping the ball in the ballpark last year. He did not give up a home run until his 50th game of the season. That came on the 3rd of September in Tampa Bay. Kevin Kiermaier hit one just inside the foul pole.
Oh, he talked about how many ground balls he gets, and Russ Martin will tell you it's a very explosive fastball too. We saw Hannigan very late on that last pitch.
Again, just slapped foul, and Hannigan's having a tough time catching up with that heater.
Here's a situation in a spring training game. Biagini wants to work on that changeup. Right now you wouldn't throw it because Hannigan can catch up to the fastball, but in this situation where results really don't matter, you may see him still go to the changeup because he wants to throw a certain number of them today.
3-2 count to the batter. Went right back to the fastball and gets the strikeout. Second strikeout of the inning for Biagini.
And that's the two-seam fastball from Biagini. He has the luxury of throwing both of them. Two-seam fastball, he'll get some good action down and in on the right-handed batters. And Hannigan was overmatched with the fastball anyway, but look at the action that goes down on this pitch. Hannigan swinging right over top of it. And when you can come back with a four-seamer and elevate it, now you're working the top and bottom of the zone as well as working in and out.
Now, I think everybody in the back of their mind believes that Biagini will eventually be a starter, but he's not going down to AAA. He's not going to pitch in the minors. He's such a valuable part of this pitching staff, no matter what his role is.
It would be very different if the Blue Jays were in a situation where they're rebuilding and trying to be a 500 team. Sure, then maybe what you do is get them down there and build up. But this is a team trying to get to the World Series. And you've got two guys in Marco Estrada and Francisco Liriano potentially facing free agency that could leave. We may see Joe Biagini next year at this time in the same predicament, building up, but then to be a starter using all 4 of those pitches because the need is there.
Well, the Blue Jays have seen many of their great starters over the history of their franchise begin their careers working in the bullpen. Jimmy Key comes to mind. 1984, he had 10 saves, and then he became a very consistent starter. Pat Henkin, David Wells, Al Leiter, Todd Stottlemyre, they all worked out of the bullpen with the Blue Jays in the big leagues before they moved into the rotation. This is Brock Stassi, the first baseman. He takes outside for ball 2. It's 2-1. I think Joe Biagini's in a great spot to learn. He's got some wonderful veterans down in the bullpen during the course of the season to learn from. Of course, Jason Grilli, and now the Blue Jays have added 2 more veteran pitchers. Joe Smith, a right-handed side armor, and the veteran J.P. Howell, who has a lot of postseason experience.
Something to be said for having veterans around to help young players on their way up.
There's a first breaking ball we have seen in the afternoon, as Biagini must be satisfied with the number of changeups he's thrown so far.
He's got a very good curveball too. It's a 12-6, a lot of depth to the pitch. It's one of those curveballs that's got so much break most times that it's tough to keep in the strike zone, but a lot of break, and it's just another one of his weapons.
Here's the 3-2 pitch, and it's a check swing, ball 4. The appeal down to third base, no swing according to third base umpire. So a 2-out walk, runners at first and second, and that might be it for Joe Biagini. He's thrown 33 pitches, and it is going to be the end of the day for Biagini. 33 pitches in the first outing, and Pete Walker is called for a pitching change. So Biagini, a pretty good outing his first time out. Got a lot of work with the changeup. He'll turn things over to the bullpen. We'll have a pitching change when we come back to Florida.
The NHL trade deadline is a day where anything can happen. Sportsnet is primed to keep you on the front lines of all the trades and breaking news. Check out Hockey Central trade deadline coverage. It all begins Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific. Watch on Sportsnet or Sportsnet Now and join the conversation using hashtag NHLTrade.
Thank you very much, Hazel. A lot going on in the sporting world. Of course, you want to keep up to track with a trade deadline in the NHL. New pitcher for the Blue Jays, Justin Schaefer, and he is very familiar with this mound here in Dunedin. Schaefer made 20 starts and appeared in 23 games overall for the Dunedin Blue Jays last year. Had a 4-6 record with a .523 earned run average. He is a 2014 draft pick of the Blue Jays out of the University of Florida in Gainesville. So he is trying to strand a couple of inherited base runners, and he'll work to the number 9 hitter, third baseman Taylor Featherston. Inside, and that hits him. Caught his jersey, so that will load the bases and turn the lineup over as Justin Schaefer hits the first batter he faces coming into this ball game.
Schaefer will most likely just come in to try to get this last out and get out of the inning, and you can't tell me he's not a little overamped after pitching an A-ball last year. Anytime a young minor leaguer comes over for a big league ball game, that's pretty cool, and then if you get into the game, that's a big bonus.
Well, I tell you, it's a little unusual, but the Blue Jays are playing a split squad game here, the second day of their spring schedule. Half the team is in Tampa taking on the Yankees, so they've had to dig deep down into their minor league system to staff 2 teams while they play here in Florida this afternoon.
What a thrill, though, to come over, get out of minor league camp there. Some of the early reporters, the mini camp going on over there at the minor league facility.
Cameron Perkins bounces one to third, and that's off the glove, and that'll be an infield hit snuck under the glove of Jake Elmore. Urania had no play once he gloved it at shortstop, and a run comes in for the Phillies. Perkins bounces one past the third baseman.
It looked like Elmore was going to be able to get to the baseball, but a little bit of a tricky hop there. It's a top spin on that pitch as Perkins came up over top of that baseball. By the time Urena got to the ball, there's just no play across the infield, and the Phillies are coming back with a couple of their own.
Bases still loaded for J.P. Crawford, the shortstop. Crawford flied out to center. Tricky hop for Urania, and he plays second, not in time. As Featherston slides in safely, Urania bobbled the ball, and by the time he tried to shovel it to Goins at second, it was too late.
A couple of tricky hops off the bat of Phillies hitters against the new Blue Jays pitcher, Justin Schaefer. Not getting a whole lot of luck here. 2 very softly hit balls, but again, that top spin, you could almost see the last hop before it got to Urania that it was going to be tricky, and indeed it was. It had that spin on it, and he was not able to handle it cleanly. A little flip to second base to Ryan Goins covering is a little bit late.
Bases remain loaded. Now Daniel Nava. What a base hit. That one gets away from Russell Martin. Here comes a runner from third. He slides in safely as Taylor Featherston scores from third base on the wild pitch. And Justin Schaefer's had a little bit of a rocky start to his inning here, as that ball got away from Russell Martin, allowed the runner to score from third.
Well, Russ didn't really get down at all into a blocking position. Hard to tell if it was a fastball or not. The more bigger concern a little bit, Russ slow to get up after he went after that baseball towards the Phillies on deck circle. Slid and fired a seed back to the plate just a little bit late to get Featherston, but it's not what you want to see Russell Martin doing in the first game of spring.
No, and it's a real challenge for Russell having to catch a pitcher he has no idea. The pitcher hasn't been in camp at all. He's never seen him throw before, and now you're not sure where the ball is going. So it's a 1-ball, no strike count to Daniel Nava. Runners at second and third. Cameron Perkins is at third. J.P. Crawford is at second. 2-0 count. Blue Jays trying to close out the Phillies here in the second. Joe Biagini had reached his pitch count, so he was lifted in favor of Justin Schaefer. Schaefer has come on and hit a batter, give him a couple of bouncing balls, and then threw a wild pitch. Not exactly what he had in his mind while he was warming up to come into this inning.
Well, not exactly what Pete Walker had in mind either. He's hoping he could just bring him in, get a quick out, and get out of the inning, which it looked like he had on that weak ground ball. Not to be the case, and now things, a little domino effect happening here. Blue Jays are trying to get out of this inning.
Because he calls a strike, it's now 3-1 to the left-handed hitting Daniel Nava. Phillies have taken the lead. It's 3-2. Top of the second inning. There's another strike. That'll run the count to 4. It's going to go out of play down the left side.
Talk about that unfamiliarity for Russ Martin. You get a big league veteran that has a kid come in, and you would think, you know, if it's a simple fastball, curveball, slider, changeup, whatever it is, it's pretty easy, but it's not always the case. Every pitcher is different. The velocities are different. The movement on their pitches is different. And even the movement on the pitches and within the same inning can change. So not easy as a catcher, and that's why we talked early in spring. Jared Saltalamacchia, a new acquisition for the Blue Jays, has spent a lot of time with Russell Martin, and a lot of it is just dialogue, talking about each one of these Blue Jays pitchers.
3-2 pitch to Nava. It's a jam roller to second. Goins has it, and that'll end the inning. But Philadelphia taking advantage of a young pitcher, scores 3 runs to take the lead. And we are pleased to be joined now by the starting pitcher for the Blue Jays today, Joe Biagini. Joe, give us your assessment of your outing today. You got to throw 33 pitches.
My assessment?
Joe, you with us?
Yes, I think so. I've been told that I'm not all there, though, so I'm with you.
Okay.
My assessment is that it was nice to get out into a game again. I feel like when you're in the middle of the off season, you have these dreams when you wake up in the middle of the night and you go, do I remember how to pitch? You know, and it's been so long. And so it's nice to get back out here and kind of get the nerves going a little bit, you know, get the jitters going and kind of try to dial it in a little bit.
Joe, it looked like you had thought in your mind to work on that changeup today? We've talked about that. It's a pitch that you'd like to improve upon. Was that a focus today?
It was a focus. Yeah, I was, not too happy with how it went last year with the changeup for me. I felt like I threw a lot of them in the dirt and in key situations where they need to be for strikes, and I just needed to have that confidence and the ability to throw it whenever and in any count. And I think that there's nothing that replicates this kind of environment to be able to actually practice it with fans in the stands and the gameplay. There's nothing like it, so it's the best opportunity to practice something. When you get the luxury to be able to work on something like that in a game situation, you can't replicate that.
You threw a pretty good one to Andres Blanco to strike him out to start the second inning. Is that the type of situation you see yourself using that changeup in?
Yeah, I mean, any type of situation, really. I mean, that used to be the pitch that I would honestly throw the most often the previous couple of years before I got here, and I was just kind of pulling off of it too much last year. And I would like to use it to steal strikes. I'd like to use it in the middle of the count, and I believe that when I throw it low, I can get a get a little more action on it downward, and so honestly, any situation, I'd like to be able to use it.
Joe, I have to believe this past offseason was much different than all of your other off seasons after being a rookie at the major league level and doing a pretty darn good job. What was your off season like, just with family and friends even?
It was about the same. I mean, I usually make a stop at the Tonight Show every year, and I just say hi to Jimmy. And no, obviously this was by far the most incredible off season that I've experienced. And just thank God for the opportunity to be in this environment, and because I mean, I don't know, there's not a lot of people who get the chance to have this opportunity to experience these things, and to be able to work on this stuff and have the confidence in this team and they and me, and we know where each other stands. I don't know, it was really refreshing, and I wish that everybody could get the chance to experience this.
Okay, you talked about it. I want to hear more details about it. I know what happened in the first situation with Fallon, where he missed your hand and then you kind of got dissed with. After the year you had, nobody can really diss you, Joe, but talk about the invitation and how you got the opportunity to go back.
Melvin says sorry, duty calls. Yeah, I heard from Jay Stenhouse, who's hiding right in front of me. There he is. And I asked him about 12 times. The first couple times he sent me a message saying, is this real? Was this like a legit thing? Are you joking? And he finally got frustrated with me and said, just here's their phone number. They want you to call them. Just call them and hear it for yourself. And they said, we want to do a sketch about bad high fives. And I said, I'm good at bad high fives. So, yeah, I mean, it was pretty surreal. I was more nervous for that, standing behind stage at that moment, than I was pitching in any game this last season, which seems hard to believe, but honestly, like when you're out of your element and don't know what's going to happen, if you're going to throw up or your pants are going to fall off or something, like you just have no idea. So that was a pretty incredible experience.
You did a great job, and obviously after having pitching in the playoffs and doing so well, I can imagine you were a little bit nervous in that situation, not knowing what it was going to be like to go out on stage for a second time and to be acknowledged by Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Just to hear my name called by some guy that I've been watching for years in there is like, just kind of checking myself out to make sure I was, pinching myself and stuff.
Well, Joe, I got to tell you, it's been a real pleasure to have you on this ball club, and I know you've got high expectations of yourself and of this team, and I want to congratulate you on your first outing of the spring. Thanks a lot for spending some time with us.
Well, thank you guys, and I hope you get all the kinks out up there too.
We're trying. We're trying.
Enunciate.
They're never really done. It's an ongoing process, Joe, but we're trying.
And have fun in the World Baseball Classic.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. Well, what a character and what a personality. We're going to try to bring you more of those personalities through the course of the season. But Joe Biagini, he's a special guy. And when he's on that mound, he's all business. Like talking to him off the mound, you never know what you're going to get.
And I think that's the beauty of this young man. And you mentioned it earlier. He gets between the lines, though, and it's game on. But I think that lighthearted personality can really help you between the lines, and I think it does for Biagini. We saw an example of it today when a runner took off on him when he was at the stretch position, didn't panic, stepped off, So that can really work in your favor as well.
This is Russell Martin. He's got a 2-1 count against Jeremy Hellickson. Richard Urania has a base hit. He's at first, and there's strike 2. Urania got a base hit to left field while we were talking with Joe Biagini, and today is Richard Urania's 21st birthday. And it's a name you're going to write down in your notebooks. He's going to be a major league player. Just a matter of when. Two and two to Martin. He fouls it off.
If you had to name a player from last year's spring training that really impressed, Richard Urania was the name that came to mind for me. I had not seen him play before, but day in and day out last spring, he really opened my eyes, and I think he's opened a lot of eyes in the Blue Jays organization. Nice to get a knock on your birthday. He's had a little trouble defensively today, but this is a player to keep an eye on as we move forward.
Yeah, Urania's a good defensive player. He's just got a couple of in-between hops today and a couple of errant throws, but he's going to be a major leaguer. The Phillies lead at 3-2, taking advantage of some shaky Blue Jays defense top half of this inning.
Talked earlier about Russell Martin and going to a bit of a smaller bat last year. And another thing he worked on in batting practice the other day over at the Bobby Maddock complex was really just staying in the middle of the field. He knows he's best when he thinks right center. He just stays on the ball a lot better. We'll see if he can do that against Hellickson right here.
There goes the runner, and Russell fouls it off the glove of the catcher.
It's interesting watching big leaguers take batting practice because Russ was having a lot of fun with it. Brooke Jacoby was behind the cage, but he did all the situations, and you go the other way for 5, and then infield back, infield in with a runner on third, and then they try to drive the runner in, and then you try to use the middle of the field. So they're always trying to do different things with their hands, manipulating that bat, using the whole field. But Russ knows that when he doesn't really stay at least gap to gap, that's when he gets a little spin going in his rotation, and he's pulling off the baseball. That's what he wants to stay away from.
3-2. Changeup misses for ball 4. Russell will go to first. Urania moves to second base with 2 outs, and that'll bring to the plate Jose Bautista. Bob McClure, the pitching coach of Philadelphia, has come out of their dugout. That might be the end of the line for Hellickson, as he has struggled a bit, throw a few more pitches than they probably want. McClure having a chat with Hellickson, and they have some action in their bullpen, and let's see if they're going to stick with Hellickson and see if he can't work his way out of this inning. There are 2 outs. Well, he's going to stay on. While McClure was at the mound talking to Hellickson, Reese McGuire has come off the Blue Jays bench, and he's taken over as a pinch runner for Russell Martin. He'll stay in the game and catch. This young man, very interesting guy, former #1 pick of the Pirates, came over in the Liriano trade. Reese McGuire came over with Harold Ramirez and Francisco Liriano for Drew Hutchison. So we'll get a chance to see him catch today.
An excellent deal for the Blue Jays last year. When you look back at that, it's one thing to acquire Francisco Liriano, not only for 2016, but this year as well, but to get 2 prospects along the way. And that's how small market teams have to operate. Unfortunately, the Pirates had to unload some payroll.
The Blue Jays took on the entire salary of Francisco Liriano for last year and this year, and with that, they got 2 prospects. So you take on more money. The Pirates had to pay, and they had to give up 2 of their young prospects. Here is Bautista. Jose doubled down the left field line his first time up. Ball and strike to Jose. Jose looks good, and Joe, you've seen him come into camp year after year. He always comes in outstanding shape.
Well, he doesn't. We saw him at the minor league complex the other day. Luis Rivera was running an infield-outfield practice, and he was showing a very strong arm from right field. I was very impressed because we've seen that decline over the last year and a half or so, but he looks like that shoulder's becoming a little bit more healthy.
And ball is pulled foul over Tim Leeper's back down the left side.
Jose had such a good arm, but also a very accurate arm. And I think accuracy is probably more important than anything. We talk about it behind the plate as catchers. To throw a runner out stealing at second base, the throw has to be in the neighborhood, has to be accurate before you talk about arm strength. Talked to Tim Leeper about that the other day, and he said the same thing. He's coaching third base today, and he'll run on guys that are not accurate because you will not throw anybody out. And Jose can do that with the best of them when he's on.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Runners at first and second for the Blue Jays with 2 outs. Fly ball left field. Nava is on the warning track. Daniel Nava makes the catch. Bautista caught it toward the end of the bat, so that'll end the inning. We've played 2 complete here in Florida. Phillies have a 3-2 lead. Joe Biagini was the starter today. He pitched an inning and 2/3 through 33 pitches overall, had a good outing. And after Joe was out of the game, he joined us on headset. We talked about the Jimmy Fallon appearance, and actually he was on twice. He was on as a part of the audience the first time. Jimmy Fallon walked up the aisle and gave everybody high fives, and he missed Joe Biagini. And watch his reaction. Biagini says, "Hey, what about me? I kind of got dissed on that high five." Well, Jimmy Fallon heard about it, heard who Biagini was, and invited him back for a real solid high five. And this was the second appearance, and that's what Joe Biagini was talking about, being nervous waiting backstage for this second appearance on the Tonight Show. It's pretty awesome, man. Joe, he's got a lot of personality, folks.
Oh, he sure does. And I thought that was a very interesting comment that he made, just not being in his comfort zone backstage. He was as nervous as he's ever been, more so than in any game he pitched in his first major league season.
Well, the new pitcher for the Blue Jays is Matt Latos. He gets a first pitch swing from Cameron Rupp. 1 pitch, 1 out for Latos. Matt Latos was signed by the Blue Jays late this offseason, and he comes in as a non-roster player trying to win a spot on this ball club, whether it's in the rotation, which is a long shot, of course, or out of the bullpen. But he's had some success early on in his career. Started with the Padres, pitched 3 seasons in San Diego, went to Cincinnati and had a 14-4 season over a leading 33 starts in 2012.
Well, Matt Latos brings an awful lot of experience, and it was just even last year. I remember when the White Sox visited Toronto, Don Cooper, the pitching coach, was talking about Chris Sale and Matt Latos, 2 top pitchers in the big leagues at the time. He had an excellent month of April, but then things went a little sideways, was released by the White Sox, signed with Washington, and did not go well there. It's a nice sign by the Blue Jays. They're hoping he can rekindle and find that old form. This would be a nice piece.
Latos is 29 years old. He's got 7 years of major league service. This is Andres Blanco, the second baseman. Reese McGuire is behind the plate. He took over as a pinch runner for Russell Martin, who started the game. Left-handed hitting catcher. Came over in that trade we mentioned August 1st from the Pirates, along with Francisco Liriano and Harold Ramirez. He's a #1 pick, 14th pick overall in the 2013 draft. He comes out of Covington, Washington, outside of Seattle. There's a drive to right, and this one's going to go. This ball is off the top of the fence, out of the ballpark for a home run. And it got stuck up in that netting, and Andres Blanco hits a home run. Ball flies here in Dunedin, and that ball was a line drive that just snuck over the top of the fence in right field for a solo home run for Andres Blanco.
Well, it's a pretty hitter-friendly park at times here in Dunedin. You see this pitch from Latos up and on the inner half of the plate. Really a no-doubter, especially the ball carries very well most days here in Dunedin. Flags blowing straight out to right field, and he got plenty of that to get up onto that netting over the Blue Jays bullpen.
And you see the flag blowing in the breeze going out to right. This is Dylan Cousins. Reached on an air and scored a run his first time up. Cousins had a big season in Double-A for the Phillies in Reading, Pennsylvania. He had 38 doubles and 40 home runs while driving in 125 runs. That season earned him the Most Valuable Player award in the Eastern League. Just 22 years old. Good cutter from Latos as he gets called third strike. And he gets Cousins. We mentioned Matt Latos began his career in San Diego in 2009. He had a 14-win season in 2010. With the Padres, he went 27-29. Then he moved to Cincinnati, where things really came together for him. Over 3 years with the Reds, he had a 33-16 season, making 81 starts for Cincinnati. So he's got a track record, Joe, and the Blue Jays are anxious to see what he has left in the tank.
He had a knee injury back in 2014, and the question is he fully recovered from that? Has not really been the same since. So if the Blue Jays can find some relative health, perhaps they find the old Matt Latos, and it'd be a great find. He's in a similar situation here as we've seen Joe Biagini in spring training. They're an excellent option if something should happen to one of the Blue Jays' 5 starters, and if not, perhaps a bullpen piece. And in Latos's case, maybe as a veteran, you do go to the minor leagues as that extra starter. So a lot of options here to play out. And, you know, as spring trainings seem to happen every year, things do play out. You just got to let it go.
Yeah, there's always something that you don't anticipate, whether it's somebody really stepping up and having an outstanding spring or somebody has the misfortune of an injury. But Latos obviously knows the success the Blue Jays have had the last couple of years, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with the reason he signed with the Blue Jays. There's ball 4 to Ryan Hannigan. Hannigan works Latos for a 2-out walk. But Joe, you mentioned the fact that if Latos doesn't break with this ball club, then he has to decide whether or not he wants to go to AAA Buffalo and work as a starter. And I think the one thing that, you know, if you're not going to make a major league team, then you have to check around the rest of baseball to see who has openings in the rotation early on. Or maybe you just go to AAA Buffalo and bide your time. This is Brock Stassi, the left-handed hitting first baseman.
And I think a lot of that is going to be determined by Matt Latos and his performance, how he feels. Is he back to where he wants to be? If he is, then of course he'll exercise that opt-out and see what the other options are. But if he's not quite where he wants to be and he feels that maybe going down to AAA would be best for him, then you do that too. So we'll see how things pan out here throughout the course of the month of March.
Little chopper Smoak will have an easy play of it. Steps on the bag, and Matt Latos has an inning under his belt. He gave up a 1-out home run to Andres Blanco. We head to the bottom of the 3rd in beautiful Dunedin, Florida.
Well, fans, you heard Joe Biagini wish our Buck Martinez luck as he's off to Japan in a few days for the WBC. Closer to home, don't forget Sportsnet is your home for the World Baseball Classic. We'll have all the Canadian games for you, coverage beginning March 6th. And Buck, good luck and have a safe trip to Japan.
Thank you, Hazel. It's going to be fun. I made the trip in 2013, and we'll be doing all the games from Tokyo. We'll do the first round games. We'll feature Japan, Cuba, Australia, and China. Team China is managed by John McLaren, the former Blue Jays coach, and who is currently on the Phillies coaching staff. McLaren flew to Japan a couple days ago, and he is over there as they get prepared for the WBC. This is a familiar face to Blue Jay fans, Joaquin Benoit. Boy, what addition he was to the bullpen last year, Joe. And Benoit, of course, injured himself in that dust-up at Rogers Center, and unfortunately, they lost him for the rest of the postseason.
Well, it was an excellent addition, and that's why we talk about throughout spring training here. You can never predict what's going to happen. Two of the most solid relievers for the Blue Jays that contributed greatly last year were Jason Grilli and Joaquin Benoit, two guys that did not even start the season with the team, and that's why you have to be open and flexible to a lot of options, and that's what Ross Atkins continues to do with his Blue Jays club.
Kendrys Morales, the DH, takes one inside and jumps out of the way. Morales cued one off the end of the bat up the third baseline for an infield base hit, picked up an RBI. He drove in the first run of the ball game back in the first. Morales a year ago with the Kansas City Royals. Fly ball to right. This ball's carrying. This ball's got a chance to go, and this ball is out of here. Kendrys Morales. That'll get everybody's attention. The Blue Jay fans standing up acknowledging Morales' first home run of the spring. He's 2 for 2 with the long ball.
Well, Kendrys Morales has been taking his time around Blue Jays camp here early on. Very quiet guy. It's almost as though he's just getting his feel and sensing his new club, and that's what you do when you go to a new ball club. But this is exactly why the Blue Jays acquired this man right here. He can flat out hit. He's got a lot of power. Talked about his power playing half of his games at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City last year. Well, now he's playing half of his games at hitter-friendly Rogers Center.
Benoit will pitch to Smoak and throws a first pitch strike. Morales hit 12 home runs at Kauffman Stadium in 77 games. And he hit 18 home runs in the same amount of games on the road, 77 games. So you would figure that hitting at hitter-friendly Rogers Stadium for 81 games is going to really be to his advantage.
Well, I think part of it, too, is half of his games were at Kauffman Stadium, but the other half are on the road at not-so-hitter-friendly ballparks in the American League Central Division. See him really get a little leg kick in, and he really gets into this one. We talked about the wind helping that a little bit, too, but that may have been a no-doubter.
Upstairs with the fastball.
Difference in those away games, playing at Comerica Park and Minnesota and some of those places not as friendly. Now he's playing in the AL East, and now when he goes on the road, they're also going to be hitter friendly for the most part.
Yankee Stadium, Fenway Park, Camden Yards, Tropicana Field, all good hitters ballparks, and Morales is going to spend a lot of time in the AL East. Smoak caught looking at strike 3 as Benoit gets the first out of his outing. Joaquin Benoit with a strikeout. Morales had his best season in 2009 when he hit .306, played in 152 games, hit 34 home runs, and drove in 108. That was all with the Angels. And then, of course, he had that unfortunate accident. Celebrating a walk-off 10th inning grand slam home run. He jumped on home plate amid a sea of teammates and broke his ankle. It cost him almost a year and a half. Melvin Upton Jr. takes the first pitch, strike up and flying out to center field. He waves at that sharp breaking ball. 0-2.
It's another situation that'll have to play out this spring is the left field predicament that John Gibbons has himself. Ezekiel Carrera and Melvin Upton, of course, could platoon. Steve Pearce's name has been mentioned. A very good bat that has been added to this Blue Jays lineup. So Dalton Pompey's name on the outside still. He'll go to the World Baseball Classic as well for Team Canada. So a lot of options, but again, as a big league manager, John Gibbons knows this as well as anyone. Just let the games take care of themselves, and usually things fall into place by the end of spring before you have to make those opening day decisions.
Isn't that interesting? A lot of managers will tell you they don't make out the lineups, the players do.
Absolutely, and Gibby's just going to sit back, allow the players to play this spring, and the dust will settle. That's normally what happens.
1-2 pitch to Upton. Little chopper out in front of home. Hannigan comes out from behind the plate, then throws him out. 2 down. Joaquin Benoit, Blue Jays would love to have re-signed him after the great run he had at the end of the season, but I think he just got too expensive. Coming off a great year, and obviously the exposure of a pennant race certainly helped his free agency.
Well, the Phillies have made some very nice, smart moves this offseason. A lot of short-term, one-year deals. And that's the way to do it when you've got a very good farm system, and that's what Pete Maccannon's very excited about. You've got some guys that Michael Saunders came over to the Phillies on a one-year deal. Both Clay Buchholz and Pat Neshek came over in trades, but they're in the last year of their deals. Howie Kendrick, a crafty veteran that's been added to this club, and they're trying to bridge that gap so some of the youngsters in the farm system, a very good farm system, come up and can contribute.
And Benoit signed a one-year contract for $7.5 million, and you know that's a tough number for the Blue Jays to commit to one guy. But for the Phillies, stabilizing their bullpen with a veteran like Benoit is exactly what they needed to do. You're developing young pitchers, and you want to make sure that Benoit is there to help the young pitchers win those games when they have the opportunity.
And I think it goes back to that bullpen question we've talked a lot about in the last few years. And of course, the Kansas City Royals started it by winning their World Series with the big three in their bullpen. It's a copycat industry. Teams will continue to try to do that, but it gets to a point. Do you want a Joaquin Benoit for, say, $6 or $7 million, whatever is going to be, or do you want what the Blue Jays added in a J.P. Howell and a Joe Smith for that $2-3 million range? Because those relievers sometimes can be very fickle. You just don't necessarily know what you're going to get all the time from them.
Yeah, bullpens have a tendency to be more inconsistent than you might get from your starters. You know, that you mentioned the copycat industry, and I think Terry Francona would tell you he would have preferred not to use the bullpen as much as he did last year in the postseason, but he didn't have two of his top starters available. Carlos Carrasco and Danny Salazar were both on the show.
It's really remarkable that he did that with his club with those two starters out down the stretch, but there's not a whole lot of Andrew Millers out there and Aroldis Chapmans. I think everybody thinks you can build around those guys, but they don't come around very often.
Benoit strikes out Goins to end the inning. A couple of strikeouts for Benoit in the inning, but the first batter he faced, Kendrys Morales, takes him deep. A high fly ball over the wall in right. Morales is 2 for 2 with a couple of ribbies.
Tulowitzki and Darwin Barney are Blue Jays who have faced Matt Latos the most over the course of their careers. Tulo for a 158 average, Barney 111 average. Barney remembers back then that Latos would use his size and a whole lot of deception to his advantage. He told me he's got a good angle and he's got pretty electric stuff. So as a hitter, you knew it was going to be a tough day because you couldn't pick up the ball early on. Now, on the days when Latos' stuff was a bit sporadic and you were able to get into a hitter's count, you had a shot. But if Latos had good command that game, you were in for a long day. That's the Latos buck Barney hopes will show up here at camp.
You mentioned it early, Hazel. Latos is 6'6", and he's listed at 245. He's a big man. And when you look at his career, we mentioned he has made 186 starts for his career. He's got a one-loss record of 71 and 58. And Joe, it could be a real bonus if he gets back to that status he had early in his career.
Well, it's that consistency you look for as a pitcher trying to repeat that delivery. And Hazel mentioned that word deception. When you hear hitters use that word to describe pitchers, you know they're in trouble. They do not see the ball well, and especially with that big frame. He has a little bit of a different delivery, the way he comes up over the top. You don't see that from a whole lot of pitchers, but it works for him, or it worked for him, and now he's trying to get that back where it's more effective again.
You and I used to talk about that type of delivery as an Iron Mike kind of delivery in reference to the pitching machine.
Little pitching machine where that arm came right up over the top.
Latos is working to Reese McGuire, the young catcher. McGuire didn't start the game. He took over as a pinch runner for Russell Martin. Ground ball to third. Jake Elmore has been plenty of time at first, and Taylor Featherstone is retired. Actually, that was not Elmore. That was Jonathan Diaz, who has taken over third. And Jonathan back with the Blue Jays this season. Jonathan Diaz at third. Jake Elmore moves to left field, taking over for Melvin Upton Jr. So Jake Elmore did this yesterday as he moved from third to second and then to the outfield. So they're testing his versatility. Elmore in the major leagues has started every position but pitcher and catcher. So he is a super utility player.
Utility player, and he's got some major league experience playing in Milwaukee last year, parts of 5 seasons. He had a few hits yesterday in the Blue Jays opener against the Atlanta Braves.
3 for 3 in that start. Well, you mentioned Reese McGuire behind the plate, and he's a young catcher that the Blue Jays acquired in that Pirate trade. And catching was not a strength of the minor league organization, but it certainly has improved with the acquisition of Reese McGuire. There's a good off-speed pitch, and Latos records the strikeout. McGuire, a young man, just a 21-year-old, handling the veteran Matt Latos here, and Reese McGuire, former #1 pick of the Pirates in 2013. Joe, what do you like about Reese McGuire? You've seen him just a little bit so far, but looks like he can swing the bat a bit.
Looks like he can swing the bat a little bit, but he does a nice job behind the plate. And when I spoke with Ross Adkins about him the other day, while he was taking batting practice, he really likes what he sees behind the plate. But offensively, it's very interesting to see how he's going to be able to contribute. But he comes from a catching background. It's in his bloodlines. When I spoke with him the other day, he said he's been a catcher since he was a young kid. His dad was a catcher. His uncle was a catcher. His grandpa was a catcher in the College World Series for Duke University in 1952. So certainly the bloodlines are there, and he's following suit in the next generation.
That is awesome to have that type of experience to lean on. But in this day and age, it's difficult to find a catcher first and foremost. But when you find one that can catch and he's a left-handed hitter, that's a real bonus.
Got to be a thrill for him catching Matt Latos today. And you think about the youngster catching the veteran. He probably watched him a little bit growing up on TV. But and another exciting piece, both Reese McGuire and Harold Ramirez coming over with Liriano in that deal. And again, you look back at that trade and no problem taking on that payroll. But wow, to get 2 players as well.
J.B. Crawford rips one into right field as he picks up his first hit of the afternoon. Well, one thing Reese McGuire is going to have to learn when he catches people like Matt Latos is make Latos stand on the flat part of the mound and you stand on the top part of the mound so you don't look so small.
Pitching coaches often learn that early on, don't they?
Yeah, you turn around here. I'm not going to stand next to you when you're 6'6" and I'm 5'11". 2-out single for Crawford. Daniel Nava, the left fielder, getting his 3rd at bat of the afternoon. He has singled and grounded out.
One thing Latos does is he really creates that downward plane because of that 6'6" frame and the fact that he comes right over top. That's a great pitch right there, just missing down in the zone. But talked about that so often. That's where you want to be as a pitcher. Batting average in general, overall in baseball, are low on that low strike. So you want to pound the bottom of the zone. Unfortunately, the commissioner's talking about raising it.
Yeah, that's really an interesting topic, and we'll discuss that over the course of spring training. I just don't think it's something that most pitchers would be happy with, and I don't know if it's the right way to address the mounting number of strikeouts. We're in the 4th inning. It's a 4-3 ball game. And Philadelphia leads it 4-3. That looper off the end of the bat, that's going to drop in front of Kevin Pillar. He plays on a couple of hops. Crawford stops at second. Nava has his 2nd hit of the afternoon. Craigie hit the off-speed pitch right off the end of the bat and drops it in front of Pillar.
Now, Latos not happy with the result, but it wasn't a bad pitch. He caught the hitter way out front. Nava getting this towards the end of his bat, and a lot of times as a hitter, when you're so far out front, he did do a good job keeping that bat through the hitting zone, so he got just enough of it to bloop it into the outfield, but not a lot to be upset about right there for Latos with that pitch.
So Daniel Nava will leave the ball game. Nick Williams takes over as a pinch runner at first base. Spring training teams will bring a lot of the youngsters over to make sure the veterans get a couple of at-bats and then the rest of the time off.
Latos will throw a variety of pitches. He's got the fastball, both 2- and 4-seamer, curveball, slider change. He's thrown a cutter in the past. He's thrown a split in the past. Talked to him about it this morning. He says, well, I try to zone in on a few, and whatever it's working, that's what you're going to get.
Broken bat, and Rep really got sawed off as they're able to get the force out of second. Rep left with just the handle of the bat in his hands. Matt Latos pitches out of a jam. They'll go to the bottom of the 4th. Blue Jays down by a run. a split squad day for the Blue Jays, and over in Tampa, Jared Saltalamacchia playing against the Yankees. It's a 2-run home run over the wall in right. Saltalamacchia batting in the 3rd spot in the Blue Jays order in the game in Tampa Bay goes deep. He is 1 for 3 this afternoon with that long home run to right. Saltalamacchia, the veteran, coming over here to add some depth behind Russell Martin. That's a good acquisition. New pitcher for the Phillies is the veteran Pat Neshek.
Pat Neshek, and another one of those players that came over to the Phillies, another veteran that'll help this young staff. Neshek coming over from the Astros in a trade in November. He, along with Benoit, who we just saw, Benoit was a free agent, but they've got a lot of these pitchers on 1-year deals. Just trying to bridge that gap with that strong farm system. Very unorthodox delivery from Neshek, but it's been successful.
He's a strike thrower, that's for sure. But when he winds up, it looks like he's going to really be sidearm, but his arm angle is basically high 3/4. He does not drop down with the arm as much as his windup might suggest.
Very wide stance over that pitching rubber, and a lot coming at you.
Jake Elmore takes strike 3 as he takes that breaking ball in the outside corner. Moore is 0 for 2.
It's just a tough look for a hitter. It's a look that you don't see very often, especially as a right-handed batter, and he's kind of coming with that sidearm type delivery, but there's a tiny step back before he just keeps it all coming. Normally you've got a bit of a routine through that windup for a pitcher that you can time as a hitter. You don't get that with Neshek. Most hitters will tell you the toughest thing as a hitter is trying to time up the pitcher, and that's why, especially when they go to the stretch position with runners on base, when pitchers start slide stepping and altering their delivery, it becomes very difficult for the hitter to time him.
Off-speed pitch hit on the ground to second. Blanco has it. Jeremiah retired 4-3 on the ground out. You know, Joe, it's really imperative for a guy like Neshek or for the Blue Jays newly acquired Joe Smith, when you're a 1-inning pitcher and you have an unorthodox delivery, you want to throw strikes as quickly as possible so the hitters don't have time to adjust to that different release point.
And anytime hitters see different unorthodox deliveries like Joe Smith, like Pat Neshek, they don't want to hit that inning. They're hoping he's in there for 1 inning. You don't have to see him.
Center fielder Kevin Pillar has gone 0 for 2 so far this afternoon. Most of these guys are going to probably get 3 at-bats. The fellows that are headed to the WBC might get an extra at-bat from time to time. There's a big 2-hopper to second. Easy inning for Pat Neshek. Dispatches the Blue Jays in order. Side retired. We go to the 5th. Phillies with a 4-3 lead.
MLB.TV Premium is back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, enjoy almost 300 spring training games and the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Buck.
Thank you, Hazel. Make sure you sign up early and get on that MLB.TV. You can see all the games around baseball. This new pitcher for the Blue Jays is Dominic Leone.
Dominic Leone had a rough time last year pitching for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Not a very pitcher-friendly ballpark, though. He does have some major league experience, parts of 4 seasons in the big leagues. Talked to him about that and pitching in Arizona. He said no excuses. It's certainly a tough place to pitch, much like Colorado, but you cannot make excuses. You've got to find a way to figure it out, and he just struggled to do that. He's hoping to open some eyes here in Blue Jays camp.
Well, that's the one thing that you want to accomplish in spring training, give as many pitchers opportunities to win jobs, and certainly this spring with the extended schedule, there's going to be a lot of opportunities. This is Edward Olivares, who takes over defensively in left field for the Blue Jays, and Lane Thompson moves into center, taking over for Kevin Pillar. Minor leaguers filling out the rosters of both Blue Jays teams today. Remember, they're having a split squad game in Tampa against the Yankees, while the Blue Jays welcome in the Phillies here. Andres Blanco, the second baseman, homered his last time up back in the 3rd inning.
Leone will average around 93 miles per hour with the fastball and slider and cutter to go with him. We'll see him run that cutter in on the hands of left-handed batters like he did to Blanco right there.
Little chopper off home plate, foul. Dominic Leone is 25 years old. He's from Norwich, Connecticut, drafted by the Mariners in 2012 from Clemson. He had a good start to his major league career. He debuted in 2014 and went 8-2. Pitching out of the bullpen, made 57 appearances. Had a .217 earned run average, but it's been disappointing since then. He's not had a major league win since his first season in 2014. Two balls and 2 strikes to the leadoff man here in the 5th, Andres Blanco. He knew it. Blanco tried to foul it off. Good breaking ball from Leone. He strikes out the first batter he faces here this afternoon.
Some good late action on that breaking ball from Leone. As a hitter, give up on that pitch. Comes back just enough, but that's what he has to incorporate. When you've got a decent fastball in that 92 to 94 range and a decent secondary pitch, that's a very good combination. Leone worked it very well there.
Dylan Cousins, the right fielder, getting his 3rd at bat of the afternoon. He's 0 for 2, reached on an air and scored in the 2nd. Caught looking at strike 3 in the 3rd. Good fastball from Leone, gets the foul ball.
Squeeze, lemonade, water, peanut, Private Jet.
Cousins, a former 2nd-round pick of the Phillies, and he's got a lot of power. He played in a very hitter-friendly ballpark in Reading, Pennsylvania, in the Eastern League. But it's hard to discount 40 home runs and 125 RBIs. I don't care where you play.
I don't care if he played in a parking lot somewhere. That's pretty impressive.
Leone strikes out both batters he's faced here this inning. 2 down. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. We're in the top of the 5th here in Dunedin. Phillies have a 4-3 lead. Veteran Ryan Hannigan has walked and struck out so far this afternoon. Leone is the 4th Blue Jays pitcher to work this afternoon. Joe Biagini started, went an inning and 2/3, hit his pitch limit. Justin Schaefer came in to close out the 2nd. Then Matt Latos worked 2 innings, and now Dominic Leone. Joe, when you first had an opportunity to catch big league pitching after spending time in the minors, how much of a challenge was it to adapt your catching skills, just catching major leaguers for the first time?
Yeah, it's very interesting in watching Reese McGuire here today, but there's a good example right there. You set up away for a fastball and they missed with their location on the inner part of the plate, so Reese had to go to his backhand there and he just did not come up with it cleanly. Not a bad pitch, but that's the adjustment you have to make as a young catcher coming up now, catching big league guys. Usually a little better command with their stuff, but definitely more movement, more bite on their breaking balls, and that's where you just have to focus that extra bit.
Hannigan takes a 2-out walk, ball 4 inside with the fastball, so that'll bring Brock Stassi to the plate. Stassi, the first baseman, has walked and grounded out. 5th inning. Hannigan is going to depart now as he leaves in favor of the pinch runner. 2 outs. Line drive toward the gap, and that's going to get down. Hollis gives chase. It's all the way up against the wall. Runner coming around 3rd, and he's going to score without a throw. As Brock Stassi picks up an RBI with a 2-out double to the wall in left center. So the Phillies expand their lead. It's now 5-3 Philadelphia.
A nice piece of hitting by Brock Stassi. His fastball on the outer part of the plate. Not bad location, but he stays on it very well. And as a hitter, when you're on the ball like that and stay on it, driving it the other way, that's just a beautiful piece of hitting. Splitting the gap, easily scoring the runner from first base to add on to this Phillies lead.
Stassi at second now for the 3rd baseman, Taylor Featherston. There's a breaking ball in there for a strike.
It's a funny game, though. You know, sometimes you make that same pitch, a fastball on the outer part of the plate. Left-handed hitter takes a bad swing, rolls it over to the 2nd baseman, and you're out of the inning. But not that time. It was a very good swing by Stassi staying on that, and he got himself a good result.
Fouled straight back to the screen, 0-2. We will get a chance later on to see Connor Green work in this game, and Connor Green is one of the bright young starting pitching prospects. Take a look at this last swing.
One of the mistakes a young catcher can make is setting up too early with a runner on second base. Reese McGuire put the sign down and he moved all the way in. The runner on second base took a step towards third. What that is a little notion to my hitter saying, hey, they're coming in there. That hitter was ready for that pitch. That's another one of those adjustments when you talked about receiving and catching from the minor leagues up into these big leaguers now. And even though you're in a spring training game, there's enough guys out here with enough experience that you can't give away those things too early. You want to put your sign down. Once your pitcher agrees, just sit there in your squat, and then just as he's about to deliver it, now you slide over. By that time, it's too late to relay that signal as a runner on second base to the hitter.
Yeah, it's a very difficult adjustment from catching minor league pitchers to catching major league pitchers. There's a good breaking ball as ball is in the dirt. There's the throw to first to complete the strikeout. Leone eventually strikes out the side. He gives up a run with a 2-out double. Spring training baseball is back in Florida. Lots of souvenirs at the concession stand. Lots of fans having a great time in the sunshine in Florida. Come on down. And 6. Danny Bunce, a 2-time Super Bowl winner with the 49ers, and I got our pal Jerry Howard Danny Bunce's autograph because he's the biggest 49er fan in the world.
Well, congratulations, partner. That is very special. What an honor.
Thank you. It was a great time. Got to see a lot of family and friends. A bunch of my college teammates showed up. There was about 8 guys I played college baseball with that showed up that night.
That's pretty cool.
And the next night, I was in Okotoks.
Traveling man.
Speaking to the dogs, it was terrific. Got to see a lot of great people out there in Okotoks. What a program they have. Whew. They do a terrific job, all those great people in Okotoks. Congratulations on a beautiful baseball organization. This is popped up out in front of home. The first baseman comes in to make the play. Dassey makes the catch, and Reese McGuire pops out. Well, a lot of changes here. We're early in spring training, and this is Ben Lively, who has come on to start the bottom of the 5th. Jose Bautista gets another AB. Jose will play in the World Baseball Classic for the Dominican Republic. Bautista doubled and scored in the first. He flied out in the second inning. There's a strike on the outside corner. Joe, I don't know about you, but spring training, and you remember Joe Biagini told us we got to work out the kinks in broadcasting as well. My scorebook is a mess right now.
There's a lot of high numbers there. That's why.
That's a base hit for Bautista. Took it right back up the middle over the mound into center field. Jose is 2 for 3 in his first spring action this year.
Well, Jose staying on that baseball very well, and that's a good look from him. We did not talk about Jose being a pull hitter, but he's able to stay on that ball and pound it right back up the middle. He'll be in good shape as he gets ready for that World Baseball Classic, and they will see the United States managed by Jim Leyland. Should be a very interesting matchup.
There is the possibility of Marcus Stroman starting for Team USA against the Dominican Republic. Wouldn't that be something? Juan Gratterall is the pitch hitter, and the pinch runner at first base is Josh Palacios.
You think the chirps have started yet between Jose and Marcus?
I'm just speculating that might be a opportunity for Marcus to start. He's going to pitch for Team USA.
I'm sure that would be an opportunity that he would relish.
Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, absolutely.
Marcus Stroman will pitch tomorrow in our game against the Pittsburgh Pirates, so make sure you join us. It'll all start at 1 p.m. Eastern time right here on Sportsnet. You see Marcus Stroman and Roberto Osuna pitch in that game tomorrow. So that's an opportunity. Osuna is headed to the World Baseball Classic. He will pitch for Mexico. Danny Barnes and Mike Bolsinger also scheduled, and there's the time. 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific. Pirates and Blue Jays right here at Florida Auto Exchange Stadium, all starting tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
I talked to Roberto Osuna about that, pitching for Mexico. I know a lot of Blue Jays fans, and even the Blue Jays on pins and needles a little bit. The last thing they want to see is these pitchers amp up so early in the season, of course, wanting to play baseball into the end of October. But he says if the fact that it's in Mexico, it's in his native land, it was a no-brainer. He wants to pitch in front of his country. If it was somewhere else, he said, I probably would not have done it. But that's how much it means to these players to put their country's name across their chest, let alone pitch in front of their home fans.
Well, and he is so excited for a chance to pitch in the World Baseball Classic. It'll take place in Jalisco, Mexico. Mexico is in the pool with Italy, Venezuela, and Puerto Rico. And their first game will be March 9th. Mexico will play against Italy. Sal Butera's son, Drew Butera, will be catching for Italy. I think the World Baseball Classic has really advanced baseball in 3 particular situations: Canada, Italy, and the Netherlands. They have all improved dramatically. Ground ball to the right side. Second baseman goes to second for the force. Return throw in plenty of time, and Gratterall out on the double play. 4-6-3 to end the 5th inning. We've played 5 innings here in Florida. Phillies lead it 5-3. New pitcher for the Blue Jays is Connor Green, and we had an opportunity to visit with Connor Green all throughout the spring. We saw him last year, his first opportunity in spring training. And Joe, what have you noticed early on about the differences with the Connor Green from a year ago as compared to Connor Green today?
Well, we're starting to see a little physical change. He was a tall, slender guy last spring at this time. He's put as I joked with him, put a little meat on his bones, but he spent some time with Aaron Sanchez this winter, and it's noticeable. He's gotten in the gym. He's really bought into the whole physicality of this thing as a pitcher. He's seen what Aaron Sanchez has done, and they've been going at it pretty good in the weight room, getting much stronger. Looks like he's grown into a man now.
Connor Green's 21 years old. He'll turn 22 on April 4th. He was drafted in the 7th round out of Santa Monica High School. He's a very engaging young man, and he's already done some modeling. He's already done some acting. He's had an opportunity to meet Charlie Sheen, and I think having the impact and the influence of Aaron Sanchez is nothing but a positive for this young man.
Well, it's great to hear that Aaron Sanchez has kind of taken him under his wing. Aaron, a youngster still in the major leagues, but taking an even younger player and trying to show him the ropes, and what a good person to learn from.
Pinch hitter for the Phillies is Pedro Florimon. Oh, excuse me. This is Ramon Quinn. Florimon is on deck. Quinn came on defensively in center field and took over. Top of the order. He is batting in the #1 spot in the lineup. There's a base hit to left field. Slaps it to the opposite way. So Connor Green gives up a leadoff single here in the 6th. And for more on Connor Green, let's check in with Hazel May.
Well, Buck, just to illustrate Green's weight gain, back in 2013 when the Blue Jays drafted him, Green weighed in at 165 pounds. Last spring, he came into camp really lean, and according to the training staff, maybe a bit too skinny at 185 pounds for that 6'3" frame. And thanks to that same workout regimen as Sanchez, and of course the high performance program, he showed up at physicals weighing in at 210. And Buck, you brought up a good point before the game. At 21, Green really has grown out of his teenage frame as well.
Yeah, he sure has, Hazel, and you can see he gives up another base hit. Opposite field, Quinn is headed for 3rd, and they'll cut the ball off, and now they got a shot at the runner at 2nd. But Urania again bobbled the ball at shortstop, and it cost him an extra 90 feet as Pedro Florimon took advantage of that relay to the shortstop.
Another hard hit ball off the bat of a Phillies hitter against Connor Green. This one in the left center gap. And you can see as this ball's hit, the runner's thinking 1st to 3rd all the way, and that's what you want to do as a runner. Put the pressure on the defense. If the shortstop picks this ball cleanly, they've got the runner at 2nd base. They'll be yelling, cut, 2-2. Just could not come up with the ball cleanly.
This is Nick Williams, who came on defensively, getting his first at bat of the afternoon. Green's in a jam and delivers strike 1.
Well, Green said it was a very busy off-season. He was in the Arizona Fall League. Then he went to Toronto for the rookie development camp. Then he came right down here to Dunedin. But the workouts alone with Aaron and chumming with him, and I think more than that even, Buck, is the conversations, the dialogue that goes on about how to pitch and what Aaron Sanchez has learned in his young major league career. And a lot of it has to do with believing in your stuff and having that confidence. And that's really been the message from Sanchez to the youngster.
Green made 4 starts while pitching in the Arizona Fall League, and he didn't fare very well. He gave up 6 hits in 10 innings, but he walked 11. There's a bouncing ball that's going to get through the right side. 1 runs in. Here comes Florimon, and the throw from right field well offline. As Palacios' throw was a strong one, but up the line halfway between home and 3rd as Nick Williams drives in a pair. So Connor Green, a little rough start to his outing as he surrendered 3 straight base hits.
Well, this ball was not hit real hard into right field. It really just found a hole. Not a bad pitch from Green, but this is what we talked about earlier. Throws from the outfield, if they're not accurate, you don't have a chance to get any runner, no matter how strong it is. The throw has to be on the mark. This one up the 3rd base line.
This is Andrew Pullen, who is batting for Andres Blanco. Philadelphia leads it 7-3. There's a weak swing from the pinch hitter. 0-1 count. We mentioned Connor Green. 4 starts. He walked 11 in 10 innings. And in his conversation with Sanchez regarding that, Aaron Sanchez said, you know, I was the same way when I pitched in the Arizona Fall League. There goes the runner at first. McGuire from his knees throws a one-hopper that Urania couldn't handle. So it'll be a stolen base for Nick Williams.
Well, remember when Sanchez, even when he first came up to the big leagues, Pete Walker had to talk to Russ Martin about staying a little bit more middle of the plate. You don't have to throw to the edges of the plate when you have that much movement. And I think that's the message to Connor Green is don't try to be so fine. Trust your stuff and pound the strike zone.
Williams with the stolen base. Still nobody out. Pitch inside, misses. Connor Green has given up 12 runs on 3 consecutive hits to start his inning of work. Breaking ball missed outside. Green spent last year between Dunedin and New Hampshire. He made 15 starts in the Florida State League here in Dunedin, went 4-4 with a 290 earned run average, and then moved to Double-A and made 12 starts in Double-A. He was the Eastern League Pitcher of the Week for the week of August 14th. He actually threw his first career complete game, a 1-0 shutout over Harrisburg while pitching for New Hampshire. That came on July 26th last summer. Good off-speed pitch. He gets the strikeout. First out of the inning. Like a changeup, Joe.
Connor Green can get it up into the mid-90s and even touch 96, 97 at times. So he's got a very live arm. He's also got curveball and changeup to go with it. When you have a good changeup and a high-velocity fastball, it is a very good 1-2 punch. That was an excellent changeup that time, diving down and away on the hitter.
This is Valentin, who is the right fielder, getting his first opportunity, taking over in right field for the Phillies. Esmail Valentin getting an at-bat. Actually, he is playing at second base for Blanco. Still working out the kinks, Joe.
Keep working. These spring games will do it to you. Number 76, number 77, it's all the changes that they make in the middle of an inning.
Phillies have a 7-3 lead. They've now collected 10 hits. Blue Jays with just 6.
Eat out that cracker, Jack.
It's a good test for Green right here. Things not going real well. See if he can compose himself and get out of it.
Little chopper over the mound. Urania comes from a shortstop, double clutches, but has time to make the out at first. 2 down now.
Get together here just to confirm how they're going to approach this hitter. And this is what I mean when young players are challenged, when things aren't going your way. It is an extreme challenge. It is, and that's what this one of the things that I'm sure the message from Sanchez is to Connor Green, where you have to try to limit the damage. This is a damage control inning. Don't let it get away from you.
And a looping liner. That's going to get down in right and fall for a 2-out base hit. Nick Williams comes in from third base, and the Phillies put up a 3 spot here in the 6th against Connor Green.
Just could not make the pitch when he had to right here to save that 1 run on third base. And the score doesn't really matter. It's more about your approach to the inning and trying to learn how to pitch out of those jams. That to me is the value of the minor leagues. When pitchers get to the major leagues, they need to have spent time at each level, had some failures, and had to try to learn how to pitch out of situations. That's how you become an elite pitcher. And I think that's a lot to do with what Aaron Sanchez has done at the major league level.
Well, that's such a great point you make, because there has been a trend toward pitch counts, pitch limits, and oftentimes pitchers will come out of a game before they ever experience any tough situations. But if you extend them innings and extend them higher number of pitches, then they're going to experience these tough innings and tough situations in the minor leagues before they ever get to the majors.
Talk so much about protecting arms now, but if you don't pitch enough to get into and out of those tough situations, you're not going to learn how.
There goes the runner at first. McGuire's throw is offline and late. Another stolen base in the inning. Cousins with his 2nd stolen base of the afternoon. He runs well for a big fella.
Well, Reese McGuire is very quick with the delivery and the transfer, getting that ball out of his glove. But sometimes as a catcher, when you've got to go to your glove side to get to the baseball, you've got to go to your left, but then come back to your right. And if you come back a little bit too much, now you're throwing against your body, across your body. Very difficult to make an accurate throw in the second base bag if those feet are not right. I don't think his feet were quite right on that one.
Well, you described that perfectly, Joe, because he got himself so twisted around. He got on top of the ball and threw that running fastball, if you will, down to second base. It was never on line.
That ball that misses away to a left-handed hitter, that's like a mini pitch out. So you can lead with your left foot, but then you rake that back in. And now when you step to throw, you want to make sure those toes are lined up to your target. And I don't think that was the case for McGuire there. It's one thing to be quick, and young catchers all want to be quick, but you can be too quick. You know, sometimes doing drills with young catchers, they want to impress you with how quick your feet are, and that's not going to help, because those feet need to be under control to put your body in a good position to make that accurate throw. A lot of good things we're seeing from Reese McGuire to have those abilities. Now he's got to hone them in to execute the actual skill.
Breaking ball for the strikeout, and Connor Green has a little bit of a rough inning, but he strikes out a pair. All the while giving up 3 runs. We're going to the bottom of the 6th, Philadelphia with an 8-3 lead. In his spring training baseball, of course, right here in Dunedin, Florida, we have Intercoastal not far away. The Gulf of Mexico is just blocks away, and we wanted to remind you what a great day it is in Dunedin. 23 degrees, and you can see from coast to coast in Canada, not quite the same. Montreal is at 0, Halifax 7. Out west, even colder. Calgary -9, Winnipeg -8. In Vancouver, A little more mild at 6, but Dunedin, Florida, 26 degrees. Plenty of baseball left, folks, so you can make your plans. Come on down to March and watch some spring training baseball. Justin Smoak getting another at bat here this afternoon. Pulls this one foul. Ben Lively in his second inning of work. Smokey has reached on an air and was called out on strikes. He is 0 for 2 so far this afternoon. Inside with the fastball.
And even seeing that foul ball to the right side there again, Justin's got to really still think more middle of the field and stay through the baseball better.
Breaking ball called strike 3. Lively drops that hook on the outside corner. You know, Joe, we saw Connor Green pitch last inning, and you and I were sitting up here, and here in Dunedin they have the radar readings on the scoreboard. And in the middle of the inning, we both looked at one another and looked at the scoreboard, and there was 00 up there. But I was hesitant to talk about it because I didn't know if it was just a bad reading or not. But Connor Green hit 100 in that last inning of work, and he was throwing 97 and 98 throughout the inning.
As we talked about that very live arm, it is a gift, and now what you need to do is hone that in and try to pitch with that. It's a gift to have that velocity, but now you've got to, we've talked a lot up here too, that velocity is not everything. You have to execute the pitches. It starts with location for me, secondarily some movement, and then of course the secondary pitches.
Yeah, I think that's a valuable lesson for Connor Green. He hit 100, threw 97 and 98 consistently in the inning, and gave up 3 runs on 4 hits. So he and Aaron Sanchez, you can bet they're going to have a conversation over dinner tonight. Jonathan Diaz strikes out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Ben Lively here.
Well, I think we've been enamored with the radar gun in baseball for several years now, and one thing that most big league pitchers will tell you is that velocity is probably the third thing. Like I said, location and movement to me are the 2 most important. Velocity comes after that. Now, when you have that high velocity, it's a wonderful thing because you can get away with a lot more. There's room for error.
Brian Goins bounces this one behind second. There's the throw to first for the inning. Quick inning for Ben Lively. Couple of strikeouts, 3 up, 3 down. The Blue Jays go in order. We'll go to the 7th.
This season, then at Rogers Center. 6, 12, and 20 game packs are available right now. Call 416-341-1234 or bluejays.com/gamepacks.
As we move to the 7th inning, we have a couple of defensive changes for the Blue Jays. That's Matt Dean taking over defensively at first. And at second base, That is Mattingly Romanen. Mattingly Romanen, very interesting opportunity to play right here, as Mattingly Romanen is the son of Mal Romanen, who is the PR director for the Blue Jays. And Mattingly had a chance to play last year out in Vancouver, and now he gets a chance to play with his dad in attendance here. Pretty special day for the Romanens.
Pretty special for both of them. Mattingly coming over from the minor league camp, getting an opportunity to get into a big league ball game.
Rhys Hoskins, the pinch hitter for the Blue Jays. Hoskins, he too played at Double-A Reading last year and had a big season as he hit 38 home runs in Double-A to go along with Cousins, who started in right field. They had quite a power combination there in Double-A in the Eastern League.
Good to see Connor Green back out for another inning. Pete Walker giving him an opportunity, and this would play big if he can have a nice inning right here, maybe a quick one, get that confidence back and finish the day on a high note.
Yeah, I think that's probably a product of that 3-run, 4-hit inning. So, you know what, let's give the kid an opportunity to finish up on a high note, although he struck out Chance Numata to end the inning. We mentioned he hit 100 miles an hour last inning with that fastball, and there he walks the pinch hitter Hoskins to start the inning.
Defensive changes with Burgos now playing first base, number 88, and Dean playing second.
The scoreboard 97 miles an hour. So Connor Green getting that velocity with a very easy delivery, but he walks the leadoff man here in the 7th.
And good movement too. That's not a bad pitch right there, ball 4, but the catcher Reese McGuire not able to handle it. Hard with movement down in the zone.
Remember that we were saying the same things about Aaron Sanchez a couple of years ago when he came into spring training. He said, boy, this guy's got a good arm, but he doesn't know where it's going.
Same conversation, right? You're right on.
So I don't think anybody should be discouraged about Connor Green just yet. When you have stuff like that, you have to be patient and allow it to develop.
And similar build too. Connor Green, that tall, lanky guy. Aaron was as well coming up in the minor leagues. And I always found in the minor leagues, those guys were a little late to develop too. They almost had to grow into their bodies. There's a lot going on in a delivery. You've got your arms and legs, and there's a lot to time and get to that release point and to repeat it. A little more difficult for those guys.
Breaking ball missed. And if you go back and you look at Aaron Sanchez and his minor league numbers, they won't wow you. Much the same as Connor Green's. But that's where you have to let your eyes give you the information. See what the hitters are doing. See what kind of contact is being made. See how the ball comes out of his hand. And there he hits Featherston with the inside pitch. So Connor Green probably trying to be a little bit too fine to atone for that last inning, and Pete Walker has made his way out of the dugout, and that's going to be it. Pete Walker gave Connor Green an opportunity to come out and finish up on a high note, but he walks a man and hits a batter, and that's going to be the end of his day. But there will be better days for Connor Green as Featherston gets hit by the pitch, and we'll have a pitching change here. Connor Green, a little tough outing here this afternoon in Dunedin. brought to you by New Scott's Lawn Response 911, a 3-in-1 solution that rescues your lawn.
And the play of the game comes from newest Blue Jay Kendrys Morales, who they went out and got in the offseason. And this is the exact reason why they got him. He got a fastball from Joaquin Benoit, the former Blue Jay, and hit it high in the air to right field on top of the Blue Jays bullpen. And the Blue Jays look for a lot more of this season. A very good hitter, got some pop, and now he's going to be able to take that power north to Toronto.
Kendrys Morales, for the last 2 seasons, second in RBIs at the DH position behind David Ortiz. So he's a power bat that had a good day, a couple of RBIs. This is Tim Mayza, a lefty who had a good run through the minor league system last year with the Blue Jays, and at one point he was on the Blue Jays radar for a possible promotion to the major leagues. He's on with this situation, first and second, nobody out here in the 7th.
Split time between high A Dunedin right here in the Florida State League and Double A New Hampshire. Pitched in 42 games. That fastball will be in the low 90s, 91 to 93 miles per hour with a slider.
Ramon Quinn, the center fielder, batting for a second time. Mesa got off to a great start pitching in Dunedin last year. Had a 2-0 record with a 166 earned run average in 28 games. That's pulled foul. Blue Jays then promoted him to New Hampshire just to get a feel for how he might adjust to that next level. He had a little bit of a rough outing in New Hampshire. Walked 15, struck out 13 in just 15 1/3. But he got the Double A, so I'm sure that was something that is on his mind now, and just a matter of making more quality pitches as he advances through the minor league system.
Well, hitters will tell you that when you get to Double A, Rowdy Tellez, we talked about this yesterday. He told me, you know, all of the pitchers, they're just a little bit more polished. They have a better idea. Well, pitchers will say the same thing. You get to Double A. Once you get out of A ball, now you've kind of got the best that have advanced to the next level.
That's fouled off the batter's leg, and it's a fair ball. It looked like it hit the batter. Home plate umpire called it fair, and now he's going to be overruled by the infield umpires who saw it clearly off the batter's leg.
Phil Cuzzy did not see that off the bat catch the foot of Quinn, but that's where you get help from the umpires around. Got the instep of the right-handed batter, popped up. Mesa was coming off the mound to make a play.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Excuse me, Joe.
Nicked the dirt, then just the inside of his leg, it looked like.
There's a swing and a miss for the strikeout. That's the first strikeout of the inning. Tim Mayza picks up the strikeout. This is the first spring training camp for Tim Mayza. Mayza was a 12th round pick in 2013. He's 25 years old, out of Pennsylvania.
Good fastball that time. Got some movement away. Threw it right past Quinn.
Base hit over the second baseman into center field. The wave is coming around third. Here comes a runner to score. That's Rhys Hopkins. Ball gets away from Urania, and that hit him somewhere, as he has had a tough day in the field, Joe. Urania's had a couple of bobbles, and not sure what happened to him right there, but you can see he's on the ground in some pain.
The ball was hit hard into center field, and the throw came in trying to cut that runner from going first to third, and the runner ended up holding up. Kind of short hop that throw, and the trainer's going to go take a look at him, and I think he's going to come out of the ball game no matter what.
Yeah, Urania's had a tough day. He's had some bobbles, he's had some misplays, and now he's going to leave the game with an apparent injury. Carl Wise will take over defensively. Here's the throw from Lane Thomas, and you can see it kicked up and hit Urania on the left shin. Wise is going to move to third base, and with Urania, the shortstop, coming out with that injury, Jonathan Diaz will move from third base to shortstop. Tough day on your birthday, as he has to leave with the trainer. Got hit on the leg with that shortstop. There's Jonathan Diaz back with the Blue Jays. He has spent time with the Red Sox and the Yankees, and now he is re-signed with the Blue Jays. He lives in this Dunedin area, so this is a great opportunity for him to come back to his original organization. Well, you bring all the minor leaguers over and hope that you don't have to use too many of them. But the Blue Jays have used just about everybody here this afternoon. They added 10 minor leaguers to their roster today for this split squad game, and they've needed a bunch of them.
Well, that's what happens when you have a split squad so early in the spring. The Blue Jays were at Disney playing the Atlanta Braves yesterday and really did not bring any major league regulars. But John Gibbons alluded to that. We've got split squad today. Lots of guys need to play, so this is where you dig into the minor leagues, and it's a great thing because it's a great opportunity for some of these young players to come out and get an opportunity to play in front of John Gibbons and his big league coaching staff.
But at the same time, it really taxes your roster early in the season. This is Nick Williams, and you can see the score: Yankees and the Blue Jays in that second split squad game. And the chopper foul off Nick Williams.
Well, it's good news to see Jared Saltalamacchia going deep today. I know the Blue Jays brought him aboard to be a backup catcher. We talked earlier about a lot of communication between Russell Martin and Saltalamacchia already this spring, getting to know the pitchers. But this is a guy that can take a ball deep on occasion and provide a little thunder as the backup catcher.
I think he's pulling his ear over there.
Ball four to Williams. Well, of course, last year the Blue Jays had Josh Tolley. We'll be right back at it tomorrow. The Pittsburgh Pirates and Clint Hurdle will be here in Dunedin, take on the Blue Jays. Marcus and Stroman will start for the Blue Jays. Roberto Osuna will also pitch in that game. So make sure you tune in. It all starts at 1 Eastern time, 10 p.m., 10 a.m. Pacific time, right here on Sportsnet.
I'll give you a good time, boy.
Andrew Pullen fouls one back.
Well, it really limited John Gibbons last season because Josh Tolley had to catch when R.A. Dickey was pitching. So every fifth day he had to play. Now what the Blue Jays will be able to do is give Russ a day off whenever they think he needs one, or whenever he thinks he needs one. And that's a luxury, because if he's going to be your #1 catcher, you want him healthy and strong for a very long season. And you know what? It might be a travel day where they get into a city late. Well, guess what, Russ? Take the day off. Saltalamacchia will play today.
Well, he mentioned Russell Martin told us his best season was 2014, his second year in Pittsburgh, and he started just 106 games that year. So, of course, Russell is getting up there in years, and he wants to be as fresh as he can. And now knowing that Saltalamacchia is his backup, I think he'll be more at ease should he have to DH one day, turning things over to Saltalamacchia, who's been a regular catcher throughout the majority of his career.
And that's where John Gibbons is very good in terms of communication with his players, but that will be a huge benefit this year to have a guy like that.
Ground ball. Diaz bobbles it. They get one, but they're not going to be able to get the double play. Jonathan Diaz took a tricky hop. They were able to get the force out, but that should have been a double play. Mattingly Romanin in at second base made the force out, but he wisely chose not to make a throw to first after that bobble by Diaz.
Well, I think the Blue Jays would just like to erase a lot of what they have seen defensively today. This is a double play ball. A pretty sure-handed shortstop in Jonathan Diaz, noting that he just slid over to short from third after the injury to Urania, but no excuses. He'd love to have that back, and he makes that most times.
Ball gets away from McGuire, but not far enough for the runners to advance. 2 outs, top of the 7th inning. 10-3 Phillies.
So difficult. We always talk about catchers. When you call an off-speed pitch, you have to anticipate it being in the dirt. But when you call a fastball, it's very difficult to get down. Reese McGuire does an outstanding job here, just trying to somehow get down in any way, shape, or form to keep that ball in front of him. And he did that. That's a very good sign from a young catcher.
Ball on his strike now. 2 away. Tim Mayza on in relief of Connor Green, who started the inning. Walked the first batter, hit the second batter, and then Mayza came in. Esmio Valentin, the second baseman. His second at bat, he grounded out the shortstop back into 6th. Pop up down the right side. Matt Dean over gives it a look, but it'll be back out of play.
I'm going to say maybe I'm talking to some people who don't. You know, I come from a little town called Toronto. You know what they say? Beer, man, water here. You guys come here too? Well, guess what? Doesn't matter. You guys watch the
Swing and a miss. That'll end the inning. The strikeout Mayza hits a couple of strikeouts, and Blue Jays give up 2 more runs to Philadelphia. 10-3 Phillies.
Hockey pays a visit to beautiful Nanaimo, BC, as 2 Canadian teams hit the ice in a doubleheader. First, Milan Lucic and the Oilers face PK Subban and the Predators. Then Kyle Turris and the Senators take on the Panthers. Catch all the action today on Sportsnet. Buck.
Thank you very much, Hazel. Make sure you check it all out. 7:30. It all starts. It's Eastern time on Sportsnet. Good crowd on hand here. The first home game of the spring schedule here in Dunedin. New pitcher for the Phillies, Alberto Tirado, coming on to start the bottom of the 7th.
Tirado pitched in 22 games in A-ball last year, kept that ERA under 4. Opponents hitting just .217 against him, but that whip up close to 1.5. That's one of those numbers that pitchers like to keep down in that 1-2 range. 102 strikeouts, very impressive in just 64 2/3 innings.
This is Edward Olivares, who took over defensively in left field for the Blue Jays, getting his first at bat. Melvin Upton started in left. Elmore moved to left defensively, and then Olivares came on. So he's batting in the 8th spot in the Blue Jays order. inside 2-0. Blue Jays have had a rough day in the field. They've kicked it around a little bit, bad hops. They've been charged with 3 errors overall. But there have been several plays that they didn't make, especially on the infield. There's a high strike. It's 3-1. Ball 4 off the catcher's glove, and Olivares will go to first. You come over for a major league game when you're in the minor league camp, and the last thing you want to do is walk.
You want to swing the bat.
Throw me something good to hit.
Want to do some damage so you can go back to that minor league camp and tell your buddies tomorrow you had a big league hit.
This is Carl Wise, who came into the ball game after Urania and left with an injury. Wise playing at third base. He takes a first pitch strike. This time of the year, when you come up to a major league game as a minor leaguer, not in spring training with the big league club, you say, well, at least I get to go over and take batting practice with the big boys. But now some of these guys are getting an opportunity to play. Wise, just 22 years old. He was a 4th round draft pick in 2015 from College of Charleston. This is just his 3rd professional season. Started out in Vancouver in 2015. Played in Vancouver and in Bluefield, and then last year spent 84 games in Lansing in the Midwest League. Hit .240 with 4 home runs. Here he strikes out. That's the first out of the inning. This is Lane Thomas. He got an opportunity in yesterday's game as you look at the strikeout on the curveball.
Pretty good breaking ball there from Toronto, and especially as a hitter, a pitcher you haven't seen. I'm not sure it mattered there. That's just a very good sharp breaking pitch from the right-hander.
Thomas, a very athletic outfielder. Hit it on the ground. Slow roller to short. Second for 1. Return is not in time. Ball in the dirt. Handled by Hoskins on that short hop throw. And Thomas is safe on the fielder's choice. But now there are 2 outs.
A bit of a misplay we've seen defensively here. Both teams not at their best by any means. That was a double play ball right there, but they really throw from second base coming into the dirt. Good hustle by Thomas getting down the line to beat it out.
Lane Thomas is just 21 years old. He's from Knoxville, Tennessee. This is Reese McGuire, who took over for Russell Martin, who started the ball game. McGuire had a double in yesterday's game over in Orlando against the Braves. Blue Jays hit 5 doubles in that game yesterday. Well, the Blue Jays got some young talent. We mentioned McGuire's 21. Lane Thomas is 21. Connor Green is 21. And I think, Joe, that's the trend you're seeing around baseball now. They're giving these younger athletic minor leaguers opportunities to move up in the system.
Well, I think that's one thing, too, that most organizations have to do. A lot of fans will look at what are the Blue Jays going to do in 2017, but when you're running an organization, and that's coming from Mark Shapiro up top and Ross Atkins, you are building a team that tries to compete every year at the major league level. To do that, you have to be strong at the player development minor league level. So you have to think about the future as well, sometimes 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years down the road.
Ball is hit to left field, but not that deep. And Reese McGuire flies out to end the 7th. We've played 7 complete here in Dunedin. It's all Philadelphia today.
This program brought to you by New Scott's Lawn Response 911, a 3-in-1 solution that rescues your lawn.
New pitcher for the Blue Jays is Mike Bolsinger. And Bolsinger was picked up from the Dodgers. He's had major league experience, and obviously he's in a situation where he's battling for a roster spot.
Bolsinger pitched in 6 games for the Dodgers. He started those 6 games, did not go very well. Fastball will be around 88, 89 miles per hour. Curveball, slider, and changeup. He's another name on the list of players that are competing for a potential starting spot should that need arise. Of course, we've seen a couple today already in Joe Biagini and Matt Latos. And Casey Lawrence, who started yesterday against the Braves, is another candidate. 2 nice scoreless innings for him.
Bolsinger is 29 years old. As Cousins fouls off the first pitch. Bolsinger drafted originally by the Diamondbacks out of the University of Arkansas back in 2010. He was traded by the Dodgers to the Blue Jays for Jesse Chavez August 1st last year. Cousins goes after it. It's 0-2. Bolsinger spent just over a month in AAA Buffalo last year. Overall in major leagues, as Joe mentioned, 1-4 in 6 starts with the Dodgers. His only win a year ago came against the Reds on May 24th in Los Angeles. He pitched 5 2/3, allowed 2 runs on 3 hits, and won that game. Breaking ball into dirt.
Another name in that mix is Lucas Harrell as a starting pitcher. Pete Walker talked about him today. Made 9 starts last year between Atlanta and Texas, but there's another guy with parts of 6 years major league experience that they can turn to.
Well, you mentioned at the top of the show how the Blue Jays used just 7 starters last year, and they had a tremendous run of good health by their starters. Marco Estrada had some trouble with his back, and he missed some starts. Aaron Sanchez was sent back to the minors, if you will, to buy him some extra time, but they only needed 7 starters for the entire season, and that includes R.A. Dickey, who's now with Atlanta, and Drew Hutchison, who was traded to Pittsburgh for Liriano.
The things that I'm seeing that I'm very impressed with is the way John Gibbons has been managing his staff, and through his general manager, Ross Atkins, in the handling, especially last year, of Aaron Sanchez. I don't think you can speak enough about how well that went and how well it was handled to keep him pitching all season long and to pitch a game in each series of the postseason. And I know Aaron Sanchez had a lot to say about that when they wanted to kind of halt that or maybe make a move to the bullpen. But that was just fantastic communication within an organization led by John Gibbons in making sure that we're all on the same page, and that strength and conditioning that we continue to talk about has played a real big role in Sanchez pitching all season last year.
Another guy that had a lot to do with Sanchez continuing to pitch was Russell Martin. Russell Martin voiced his opinion about shutting Sanchez down, and to their credit, the front office listened and they finished up strong with Sanchez, and now I think the shackles are off for Aaron Sanchez.
And that's coming from a veteran big league catcher that's been to the postseason numerous times. He's basically seen it all, and I think Russ's reaction was, are you kidding me? This guy's the best there is right now. He is showing no signs of fatigue, and that's why it's very important the way they handled him. They watched for signs of fatigue. They checked on his recovery the next day, his range of motion, all those things that go into looking at the health of a young pitcher.
There's a strike. This is Chance Namata, the catcher. He took over for the starter, Brian Hannigan. Well, Russell Martin, in addressing the Sanchez situation, he said it wasn't just watching him pitch. I watched how he worked out. I noticed how he took care of himself. He did everything that you want a starter to do, and he earned the right to continue to pitch.
I think in baseball now, as an industry, we're so nervous about injuries to pitchers, of course, but I think I'm to the point now where there's not a lot of control. They work out, they do their things. If something's going to happen to a pitcher, it's going to happen. I say you just trust your eyes a little bit more.
There's a base hit for Namata to right. The runner goes first to third, and we talk about the Blue Jays and just how good they were last year. The Blue Jays 89 and 73 a year ago. The offense had dropped off a bit from 2015, but John Gibbons got the support of the starters. And you look at the last 5 seasons, how the Blue Jays rotation has improved, and it really came to a apex last year, Joe, at 364 as a team.
Well, it's interesting how John Gibbons' club was always known as the thumping club and offense and home runs. That's what we talked about all the time, but look what they have done in becoming one of the best starting staffs in baseball in that rotation. Expecting big things again, but even last year we weren't talking about the rotation a lot at this time. We were talking about the lineup and how many runs they're going to score.
Well, Aaron Sanchez set a franchise record for win percentage at 15-2, and right behind him, Jay Happ is second in franchise history at 20-4. Sanchez winning percentage 882, Happ 833. Juan Guzman in 93 is third on that list. A 14-3 record to translate into an 824 winning percentage. Joe, no matter how you slice it, you talk about how you put together a winning team. Give me 5 good starters and I'll take my chances.
Well, that's a good start right there, and the Blue Jays have exactly that. They've got Francisco Liriano for a full season this year, so they're hoping to get good things from him over the 6-month season. And you expect Jay Happ. I look at Jay Happ and Marco Estrada as the rocks. You just, every time they go out there, you just feel like they're going to give you a good 7 innings, keep you in the ball game. Marcus Stroman had a little bit of a setback last year, but I expect big things from him again this year. He continues to be motivated to be the best, and Aaron Sanchez, what more can you say? Last year's ERA champ in the American League. I think the only thing next for him is a Cy Young award.
Well, the Blue Jays stayed healthy, and you got to give the credit to the starters for putting in the work. But when you look at the 4 top pitchers in innings pitched for the Blue Jays a year ago, Stroman led the pack over 200 innings for the first time in his career. Jay Happ threw 195, Aaron Sanchez 192, and Marco Estrada, despite the fact of being on the disabled list, dealing with a back issue all season long, threw 176 innings. Estrada told me that he made a couple of starts last year with a back brace on. And it's remarkable how he was able to pitch so effectively dealing with that injury. And he is really thrilled about the way he feels physically this spring.
Well, I know John Gibbons was a huge fan of Mark Burley, but Marco Estrada and Marcus Stroman, when you talk to them about it, you know, Stroman used to call him Papa Burley because he was showing him the way. Well, Mark Burley in spring training talked about pitching 200 innings. That was his role. That was his goal every season, and he said it because if you pitch 200 innings, number one, it means that you pitched pretty well. You went deep into a lot of games, and number two, it means you stayed healthy. Marcus Stroman with his first 200-inning season last year, and he's looking to build upon that along with his other foursome in that rotation.
There's a pop-up into shallow right. Palacios has it. He'll throw to the cutoff man, and the runners hold their ground. That's the first out of the inning as Featherston flies out to right. Well, you and I have been around camp now for a while, and you watch the pitchers go through their physical conditioning and their workout. And they have changed dramatically. Nicky Warner, who's in charge of the high performance, does a terrific job of streamlining the conditioning programs to the individuals. Aaron Sanchez, Jay Happ, they've been working out here in Florida since October to make sure they're primed and ready for a full season. And I don't see why they can't continue to improve as pitchers. And I don't think that last year is a spike here by any means.
Well, it's what this organization is doing, providing these facilities for these players, and more are buying into that and realizing how much it can help them, so they're utilizing these services, and that's only going to benefit the individual players as well as the organization as a whole. I think they're really on to something here with this high performance team and what they've done physically with their athletes.
There's another pop-up, this one to the shortstop Jonathan Diaz, and he stays with it and makes the catch. Check that. That is Tim Lopes. Diaz has moved from shortstop to left field as the Blue Jays continue to give the youngsters an opportunity to play. Lopes took over defensively at shortstop. Breeze blowing a little bit, and that kind of blew it out toward the outfield, but he stays with it for the second out of the inning. This is Pedro Florimon. He did not start the game, but he's getting his third at bat. Singleton scored in the 6th. He walked in the 7th. Phillies have 13 hits. They've scored 10 runs. Of course, the Phillies a year ago were offensively challenged. They had the worst run differential in the major leagues, a -186. They didn't score many runs, and they gave up way too many. Phillies finished up the season 71-91, 4th in the American League and the National League East. They haven't had a 500 season since 2012.
Got off to a nice start last year, and Pete McCannon was excited about that, but it did not last real long as reality set in. But they're very excited. They're built around a strong rotation, which we just talked about from the Blue Jays standpoint, but be a strength of this club this year for McCannon. But the veterans that they've brought in, and they're all just on these one-year deals, or guys that they acquired through trade, only have 1 year left, and it's because they have such a strong farm system. They're just trying to bridge that gap to get there. And Howie Kendrick is another one of those veterans that they've brought in, and it's also about, we talked about this mentorship so much, showing the young guys the ropes.
Well, Bosinger, he walked the tightrope, but he ends up stranding the bases loaded as he gets a strikeout of Florimon to end the 8th. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. AL East a year ago. They won 93 games. The Blue Jays and the Orioles were tied. They faced off in the wild card game. Of course, the Blue Jays won it on that dramatic walk-off home run by Edwin Encarnacion. The Yankees, they're 84 and 78 a year ago. They've had some dramatic changes. And the Rays, I don't think the Rays are quite as bad as a 68-win season they had a year ago. Boston, of course, picked up Chris Sale. Now they have a top 3 rotation of David Price, the Cy Young Award winner Rick Porcello, and Chris Sale. How do you see the division matching up as we speak here? And it's still not March yet, so I'll give you a little leeway, Joe.
Give me lots of leeway because we know how spring training predictions go. I think Boston certainly is looked at as the team to beat because of what you just said, the big 3 in the rotation. And anytime you talk about that, when they got Chris Sale, that just right away, I think all of baseball just took a step back and said, wow. I was really surprised. I thought going into the offseason they'd make a run at Edwin Encarnacion. That did not happen. They settled for Mitch Moreland at first base. Pablo Sandoval's going to be back. I see a lot of good things in Boston, but when you look around the division, can the Yankees bring Chapman back? That's a huge thing, but they've lost a couple of veterans too, and McCann behind the plate and Mark Teixeira. They're really going to rely on a lot of these young kids. They brought in Matt Holliday, the veteran, but is that enough? These kids are going to have to perform, and that's not easy in the Yankee spotlight.
Well, and now, of course, Gary Sanchez created so much attention on himself that everybody's going to really grind and try to figure out how to get him out because he had quite a run second half of the season. But, you know, the Yankees are always going to be there. They've got some kids. Gleyber Torres they picked up in that offseason trade, and Clint Frazier. Also another prospect they picked up in the trade, and they've got kids that are coming, but just how good are they going to be this year? I don't know that anybody really knows just yet. Ground ball off the bat of Palacios. Strong throw across the diamond, not handled by Hoskins over at first. Sharply hit ball to the third baseman, and the throw was a little bit low, but one that the first baseman should be able to dig out of the dirt.
He's playing back at third, but he got kind of an in-between hop, and when a third baseman catches that in-between hop, it's very important to get your feet underneath you, and that's one thing that didn't necessarily happen here, rushing that throw, and it came up a little bit short. He had time with a good throw to get him.
So Palacios is aboard. This is Juan Graterol, the DH, who took over for Kendrys Morales. In case you're just joining us, Morales started at the DH spot, did a nice job. He was 2 for 2, had an RBI single in the first and a solo home run in the third. That ball hit Graterol, so he'll go to first. So the first 2 reach here in the 8th inning.
Looks like it may have just grazed his jersey. Sometimes that jersey blouses out just enough. If the ball catches it, the umpire, Phil Cuzzy, was all over it and awarded him first base.
Breaking ball strike from Tirado. Tirado working in his second inning of relief.
I think the Yankees could be interesting in the next year or two, Buck. And I think when you talk about all the payroll that they've been kind of purging a little bit and going to the youngsters, and a phenomenal farm system now. And we've got quite the free agent class coming up in a couple of years. Some of the names we've been talking about, Manny Machado, Bryce Harper. Will the Yankees make a run at a player like that? Blue Jays have a third baseman that's due to join that class as well, Josh Donaldson. So a lot of big names. David Price and Clayton Kershaw have opt-outs if they exercise them. So there could be a pretty heavy menu around that time, and maybe the Yankees are getting in position to make a move financially for that.
Well, obviously the Yankees, they can spend as much money as they want just about any time they want, but I don't think that you just spend money before you have a core of players that can play on the major league level. Gleyber Torres is an interesting shortstop, a young guy that can really play, and he's not going to play with Didi Gregorius and Starlin Castro there just yet, but Castro and Gregorius, they're going to play most of the year at 27. They're still in the prime of their careers. This is Matt Dean, who took over at first base for Justin Smoak. Dean getting his first plate appearance of the afternoon. Being called out on strikes. He took that fastball for strike 3. That's the first out of the inning. Jonathan Diaz steps to the plate. We'll take a look at this last pitch to Dean.
Breaking ball backed up on him just a bit, but as a right-handed hitter, when you get that pitch, it's starting at you, so you give up on it. It comes back not very much. You still think it's inside, but you can see how it just froze Dean. And as a right-hand hitter, sometimes they get away with that backup breaking ball.
Jonathan Diaz is now 31 years old. He was a Blue Jays draft pick in 2006 out of North Carolina State University. He's had parts of 3 seasons in the major leagues. 2013. He got a chance to play with the Red Sox. Nice play by Toronto. He throws it to the wrong guy, but they're still able to make the double play. Toronto threw it to the second baseman. The shortstop was covering, but they're able to turn the double play. That ends the 8th. We'll head to the 9th here in Dunedin. 10-3, Philadelphia.
This week, Rogers Hometown Hockey pays a visit to Nanaimo, BC, as 2 Canadian teams hit the ice in a doubleheader. Oilers and the Preds are coming up for you right after the ball game, so stick around. Buck.
Thank you very much, Hazel. So make sure you don't miss out. All coming up right after this ball game. Blue Jays had a split squad game against the Yankees over in Tampa. They lost that game, and now they are trailing here in the 9th inning, 10-3 to Philadelphia. New pitcher for the Blue Jays is Jose Fernandez, a minor league lefty, on to pitch the 9th inning.
Fernandez pitched in 29 ball games last year in A-ball. Another one of those minor leaguers called over from the Bobby Maddock facility this afternoon. Gets to pitch an inning here to close this game out. Always a thrill for a pitcher to come over from the minor league camp. You talked about it earlier. They don't always get into games, but great opportunity today with the Blue Jays, the split squad, 2 games going on, and it's only the 2nd day of spring, so John Gibbons certainly not wanting to throw a lot of his regular pitchers.
Fernandez is from the Dominican Republic. He's 24 years old. Last year, he spent most of the season right here in Dunedin, pitched in 29 games for the Dunedin Blue Jays, and gave up 29 hits in 43 2/3 innings, but control was a problem for him. He walked 34 batters in 43 2/3. Finished up with a 1-1 record in 29 games while pitching in the Florida State League. Alex Monsalve behind the plate has taken over defensively. Reese McGuire got a nice opportunity to catch today, taking over for Russell Martin. Russ started and had a couple of at-bats. Nick Williams Had a 2-run base hit in the 6th. That was off Connor Green. He did not start, but took over for Daniel Nava. Foul tip, and Gonzalez couldn't hang on to it. Fernandez began his professional career pitching in a Dominican Summer League with the Blue Jays in 2012 as a 19-year-old. Look out. That's the longest bat toss of the afternoon as Williams strikes out. 1 down.
The good news is that bat stayed in the ballpark. We've seen bats helicopter into the stands. Very dangerous for fans. That one went flying out of the hitter's hands all the way down the right field line. As a hitter, you know as soon as that bat leaves your hands, you certainly didn't do it on purpose, but you just cringe and hope that it does not catch anyone. A lot of that netting has been extended down the lines, both sides, in a lot of major league ballparks. Last year, it was suggested to clubs. Not many did it, but boy, oh boy, the more we see foul balls, especially those line drives into the seats above dugouts, it should be mandatory.
Tyler Goodell is pinch hitter here in the 9th inning, and I think you're going to see more and more of those nets extend down the foul lines. Fans will get used to it. It's a safety factor, and that youngster got a souvenir bat from the Phillies first base coach. It didn't go into the stands, but figured if the guy is going to lose his bat, his mom will give it to a kid that's here at the ballpark on this beautiful Sunday afternoon.
Is that not what spring training baseball is all about? There's one thing about spring training baseball. Fans can get so close to the players, to the field, and there's a perfect example right there.
A reminder, we'll be right back here tomorrow afternoon. The Pittsburgh Pirates and Clint Hurdle will be here to take on the Blue Jays. Marcus Stroman will start for the Jays. Roberto Osuna is scheduled to pitch. So you want to make sure you tune in tomorrow afternoon. It all starts at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Danny Barnes is also scheduled to start, to pitch in that game. Obviously, he's not going to start. Ball 4 to Tyler Goodell.
Danny Barnes is another one of those names that can certainly be in the bullpen mix. There's so many of those names that can fill spots in John Gibbons and Pete Walker's bullpen. So it's going to be interesting to see how this month plays out. And I know sometimes options come into factor. I know Bolsinger, who we saw today, is out of options. Bo Schultz is out of options, and that can play a factor. But bottom line is you still have to perform.
Bouncing ball to third. Long throw across the diamond in time as Carl Wise made a nice play. Well, Danny Barnes really skyrocketed through the system last year, and he pitched in 12 games for the Blue Jays. And John Gibbons has some arms down in that bullpen as options. You see Osuna, of course, he's the closer. Jason Grilli has picked up some support with the veteran J.P. Howell and Joe Smith. Joe Biagini, he's going to be down in that bullpen. Glenn Sparkman is a Rule 5 player picked up from the Kansas City Royals. And then you have holdovers Ryan Shapiro, Bo Schultz, Aaron Loop. And it's going to be an interesting situation. There are some options down there. I think obviously J.P. Howell, he's going to be the lefty out of the bullpen. He'll be the late inning lefty. They'd like to have another lefty step up and give them some depth from the left side. But the bullpen, it's a fluid situation from year to year. You just don't know what you're going to get out of your bullpens.
And I think of like that list of names we just saw, and there's more to it, that's the Blue Jays' approach to filling out that bullpen instead of going out and signing a reliever for $6 or $7 million. Stay down in that $2-3 million range. Joe Smith and J.P. Howell, two very nice additions, a lot of big league experience, so they should be two very reliable guys in the pen to join Jason Grilli and probably Biagini along with Roberto Osuna. So you've got the core there. All the rest of those names may be in and out throughout the course of the season, but you do have options, and I think that's the best way to build a bullpen. As I said before, people talk about bullpens in baseball a lot this year, or in baseball now, but there's not too many Andrew Millers out there.
Hernandez strikes out Cousins to end the inning. A couple of strikeouts for Jose Fernandez in his opportunity to pitch here in a big league spring training game. That you can see all the World Baseball Classic action right here on Sportsnet live all throughout the month of March. And you can see a lot of great baseball action. And the WBC will be featuring games from Seoul, Korea, Tokyo, Japan, Jalisco, Mexico, and Miami. Team Canada will be in Miami in that pool. I will be in Japan, so if you want to hear the games from Japan, you got to get up early. Some of the games live in Japan. Cuba, Japan will be the game one out of the box. It'll be on March 7th, 5 a.m. Eastern time. Then China will play Cuba on March 8th. That'll be a 12 p.m. start. Eastern time. Canada will take on the Dominican Republic, and that game will be from Miami, Florida. It'll be March 9th at 6 p.m. And remember, Jose Bautista is going to play for the Dominican Republic. Marcus Stroman, I said Canada. Marcus Stroman is going to pitch for the U.S., and that game is game 4 of that pool, March 11th. So Canada will take on Dominican Republic on March 9th. That'll be the first game of Pool C, which will take place in Miami, Florida. So make sure you tune in for all those WBC games. So the batter is Mattingly Romanen, who's getting his first at bat. This will be Mattingly's 3rd season with the Blue Jays, and we mentioned his dad, Mal Romanen, works for the Blue Jays in their PR department, and it's got to be a special treat for both the son and the dad.
Oh, what a day for Mattingly. Super utility player. He plays all around the field. And Dad Mal told me that he's even working behind the plate now. Went to winter ball. He's trying to learn the position behind the plate, and it only adds to your value. And you think of the utility players in the game, the Ben Zobrist types.
And here he strikes out in his only plate appearance, but it's been a good day for Mattingly Romanen to come over and participate in a spring training game.
The more you can do, the more valuable you become. So that's a good idea, and it's great to see that Mattingly is open to absolutely anything to increase his stock.
This is Michael Marriott, who came out of the bullpen to start the 9th inning. He'll work to Tim Lopes, who has played shortstop. He is getting his first plate appearance. Chopped foul right at home plate. Blue Jays want to wipe these 2 games from their memory. The split squad game against the Yankees in this game. It wasn't pretty here today, Joe. A rough start to spring training here in Dunedin?
Well, you certainly always want to be on the winning end of any game, even if it's spring training. But more importantly, as coaches, you like to see well-played games. But you're apt to see this early on in spring, and they hope to clean it up as they move forward. John Gibbons talked about holding off. Of course, Josh Donaldson's had that strained calf injury. We won't see him for a couple of weeks. Troy Tulowitzki will be put off till the next week at least before he appears into a ball game. So they will be taking it slowly, and it'll be a little while before we see all the Blue Jays regulars probably in a spring training game, especially with guys shuttling in and out from the World Baseball Classic that you spoke of.
Pop down the right side. That's slicing towards the seats, and it reaches out of play.
Kid almost made a phenomenal grab over that little temporary fence down there, like a home run fence reaching over. Those are the ones as a kid when you work with your buddies in the park and you just ask them to loft it just over the rail, so you have to reach over. Got the souvenir anyway.
2-2 count to Tim Lopes. 1 out. We're in the bottom of the 9th. Breaking ball, and it pops out of the catcher's glove. Check swing foul into the seats. Nice play by a fan down there behind the Blue Jays dugout. Blue Jays always have a nice group of fans. It's been a long Sunday afternoon here, so you can see the seats have kind of thinned out a bit. Breaking ball called, strike 3. There you go. Strikes out Lopes. Blue Jays down to their final out.
Some of these Blue Jays minor leaguers are seeing some big league stuff from Michael Marriott. A couple of good breaking balls, good fastballs as well, but they've just been overmatched here in the 9th.
Breaking ball pulled to third. Long throw across the diamond, and that'll do it. The Phillies beat the Blue Jays 10-3 here this afternoon. Tough day for the Blue Jays defense. Blue Jays just 3 runs on 6 hits. The bright spot, Kendrys Morales with 2 hits and a home run. We'll be right back at it tomorrow. The Pirates are here in Dunedin. Marcus Stroman will start for the Blue Jays. So make sure you join us. That's all at 1 Pacific. A reminder, stay tuned. Rogers Hometown Hockey's coming right up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.